Happy Friday, Nashville. Next man up, 102.5. The Game, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody's Friday is off to a great start. Looking forward to the weekend. Nick Frazier, what's going on?
Oh, another day, another dollar. It's Friday. Can't complain. Ready for a little bit of some downtime.
Nick Frazier, the superstar of our station, just graces every program with his presence.
It's like a christening. Now we're going to use this here, use this there. I'm just doing my part.
Hey, at the very least, next week, training camp is here, vacation season ends, and we're going to get back to work. We're going to all start getting ready to go for football season. So it's almost here. We've made it through the summer.
Yeah, I'm getting my helmet fitted, I think, later this afternoon or on Sunday. My head got bigger earlier. I don't know what that was about. I think, just getting older, you gain a little bit of weight. So, some things don't fit the same.
You taking JC Latham's spot on the active roster till he comes off the PUP list?
Dude, at this point, I think so. I'm concerned about that. I really am.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a decent amount today. Titans training camp coming up. We'll talk some SEC media days as they have wrapped up. I have my 5 best moments from SEC media days that we'll get to later on in the show. But I did want to start with the news yesterday. Before we get into the Latham news, Diego Pavia has been waived by the Baltimore Ravens to make room for Ethan Pocic on the 90-man roster heading into training camp. And first off, that's a starting quality center that was out on the market. Wonder why the Titans weren't involved there, but that's beside the point. Diego Pavia, it's really tough timing for him because he's been with the Ravens going through the offseason program, getting ready for training camp, and to get cut days before training camp opens, I just wonder if there's going to be a spot for him somewhere else. Because I said this yesterday or 2 days ago with Corey of the guys at the back end of the roster who might be practice squad additions, who are fighting for spots 50 through 53 on the roster. Those guys are more valuable to the team that they've been with all offseason than to anybody else. And with Diego Pavia hitting the open market right as teams are going into training camp, I just wonder if it's game of musical chairs and the music stopped and he's got nowhere to sit down.
I think there'll be somewhere for him to sit down. I just look at him as like the next Taylor Heineke, the rotational practice squad quarterback that consistently you can put into any form of an offense. Obviously, he leans on the run game a little bit, kind of a smaller version of Jalen Hurts in some capacity. But that's a player I think you can, say plug and play as maybe a third-tier quarterback, in some cases backup.
Well, yeah, he was battling with Joe Fagnano from Connecticut for the third-string quarterback spot. They've got Lamar Jackson. They've got Tyler Huntley there. But the Ravens, that looked like a perfect situation for him because they were thin at quarterback, because it was a system that relied on a quarterback who could do things with his arm and his legs. I guess he just didn't do as much as Fagnano did in the offseason work, and they decided to go with him as the third guy over Pavia. I agree with you. I'm done doubting Diego Pavia over anything. I mean, when he rolled up in July or whenever it was of 2024 heading into that season, and he was really an unknown. People might forget, but it was Nate Johnson who everybody was talking about as the starting quarterback for Vanderbilt that year, the transfer from Utah. He was fast, and everybody was excited. He was a former 4-star guy, and Diego Pavia came in, won the job, and never looked back. And obviously we know what happened the last 2 seasons with him. He's been doubted everywhere he's gone. I'm not going to doubt that he finds a spot to settle in, but it's really horrible timing to get cut because, again, it's like all these teams have been planning around, all right, this is our quarterback room. I had somebody text me yesterday. It was like, do you think the Titans could bring Diego Pavia in? And I responded, I think Nashville might collapse in on itself if Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, and Diego Pavia were all competing for the third-string quarterback job here in Nashville.
That would be like college football times 10 for a third spot. I don't think I could handle it. Obviously not. But, I mean, Canadian football is underway. It's like 5th or 6th weekend.
Yeah, and his negotiating rights are held by somebody, right? Because I saw a team claimed Hendon Hooker's negotiating rights this past week in case he gets cut, when he gets cut.
I believe it's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, it is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with Diego Pavia. So I think that might end up being where he has to go for now. Maybe there's a team that's going to invite him in for training camp. But again, it's like these teams are already reporting. Rookies are already in the building across the entire NFL. He's just, again, I think it's a game of musical chairs, and there's just not really anywhere for him to go. But yeah, definitely not here in Nashville. The Titans quarterback room is full. I'm sorry. Love Diego. That would not be a good fit, I think, considering like Will Levis and Hendon Hooker as your third and fourth string quarterbacks is already enough attention grabbing guys that aren't going to make the team. You don't need to add Diego Pavia to the mix too.
I think, to be fair, 3 teams that come to mind, like off the top of my head for Diego Pavia, and I guess I'll go off priority in this case for listing it off. I would go New York Jets, Miami Dolphins, Minnesota Vikings.
Let me look at their depth charts.
And the reason why I say New York Jets on top of everything is because of Geno Smith obviously is the front runner for that starting spot. You have Cade Klubnik that's going to back him up at that point. That QB3 spot could be wide open, but then again, because of the stuff that's going on with things that have gone off the field for Geno Smith, then you have Cade Klubnik. Is he truly ready? Is he not? I feel like a guy like Diego Pavia, with the way he plays, can fit that easily.
Quick tangent on the Jets. I saw a headline. It was from, I think it was Rich Cimini, who's the TD of the Jets. And the article was, did the Jets find their Tom Brady or Brock Purdy in Cade Klubnik? I'm like, all right, we know it's July. This dude is not even taking a training camp rep. Can we please just hit the brakes?
How much did Dabo Swinney pay for that article? Because that right there is just saying, I need somebody to say I have a good quarterback from previous years that really keep my recruiting going.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Clemson, Deshaun Watson was very good in the league for a while. Trevor Lawrence is a fine NFL quarterback. It's not like this is Ohio State quarterbacks for the longest time where it was just like, if you take an Ohio State quarterback, they're going to be a bust.
Right.
But like Klubnik, very highly rated recruit, disappointed at Clemson, given all the talent that he had and the talent that was around him. Let's pump the brakes on the Tom Brady comparisons before he's even taken an NFL snap yet. Looking at the Jets depth chart, Bailey Zappi and Brady Cook are there. Again, that feels just like a loaded quarterback room where I don't know if there's a spot for him. The Dolphins might make some sense. Quinn Ewers is the backup. He was a 7th round pick last year. And then the other guys in that room are Cam Miller and Mark Gronowski. So I would agree with you there. That could be a landing spot. And then you said the Vikings.
I just threw it in there because it's a quarterback,
right.
Just redeem your career.
So that one, like, again, the top 2 spots in the quarterback room aren't as important for where Diego Pavia goes as much as the 3rd and 4th string ones. And like the Vikings 3rd string quarterback is Carson Wentz and their 4th string quarterback is Max Brosmer, who both have played in the NFL at some point.
Never mind.
So yeah, that would end up not being
maybe
great.
Washington.
Yeah. Brian says Washington on the text line. Let's see.
Mentioning Taylor Heineke earlier while you looked that up. I mean, that's one of his go-to spots that he always excelled. Excuse me.
Well, so the issue with this, looking at their depth chart, they've got Jane Daniels, Marcus Mariota. Again, that doesn't really matter. The 2 guys behind it, Sam Hartman, who was Wake Forest and then Notre Dame. He's been there for a while. And then they drafted the Rutgers quarterback late in the draft this year, Ethan Kaliakmanis. If they chose him over Diego Pavia in the draft, you would think they would make the same choice right now. So,
fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to say I hope he gets a chance to go try out and go try and make a team in camp, but it's really just, it's horrible timing to be waived. And there's nothing that he could have done. The Ravens decided to go upgrade at center, and obviously somebody has to be the cut to make room for him on the 90-man roster. It just so happened that it was Diego Pavia. So
it was like false hope in some sense for Pavia because you signed the 3-year, $3.1 million deal.
Yeah.
Mentally, I don't know, like as a quarterback, obviously the way he carries himself, very high and mighty, but not too sure what's going on with his brain processing at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I mean, the 3-year deal, part of it, I thought more was made of that than should have been, because like that's just what the standard undrafted free agent contract is. It's a 3-year deal. You're a restricted free agent after that deal expires, but you can be cut at any time and there's no loss for the team. So like you get a small signing bonus to sign with the team. It is a 3-year deal if they keep you, but that doesn't mean they have to keep you.
Right.
So he's going to go through waivers. No, I would really highly doubt somebody claims him. He'll hit the open market, and we will see where Diego Pavia ends up, whether it's in an NFL training camp or maybe trying to start his career somewhere else. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Lots to get to on this Friday. I mentioned SEC Media Days are in the books. We should be getting an SEC preseason poll at some point today, so we'll keep an eye out for that. But I have sorted the SEC into tiers in 2026. We'll get to that later this hour. Also, the top 5 sound bites from SEC Media Days later in the show. But coming up next, other news yesterday around the Titans. JC Latham and Amani Hooker placed on the PUP list to start off training camp. How concerned are you? We'll talk about it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier off and running on this Friday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Friday morning. Is this his new song?
It is.
I saw this came out this morning. I'll have to go listen to the full thing.
Fantastic.
I haven't been as into Morgan Wallen lately. Like back in college, that was like when his albums came out, I listened to the whole thing. I can't get into it as much anymore.
Yeah, it's just one of those kind of, for me, just a natural song that just comes to the brain. Like that right there, just
That one was good. I liked what I heard so far. I might have to listen to the whole thing.
kind of the same little tempo as the Dandelion and so forth.
Yeah, that's true. I've been one of my favorite artists right now is Ryan Hurd. I don't know if you listen to him at all. He's Maren Morris's ex-husband, but his music is great. He had a new song come out last week.
Love it.
Called Glory.
I'll have
really
to listen
good.
to that one.
You will. We are talking Titans here. Our football offseason coverage on 102.5 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, locally brewed, community-driven, and Parman Tractor and Equipment, providing totally outrageous customer service. Visit parmantractor.com. Yesterday, news came out. JC Latham, Amani Hooker, both going to start training camp on the PUP list. Paul Kuharsky did tweet out that both are minor injuries they're still dealing with from the spring and should be expected back on the field soon. Scale of 1 to 10, Nick Frazier. Concern level, let's start with Amani Hooker starting on the PUP list.
4.
I'm going to go 2. I'm not that worried about it. Hook's a veteran. We know what he is. He's coming off a little bit of a down year, but short-term injury for Amani Hooker doesn't concern me all that much. 1 to 10 for JC Latham.
6.
I'm going to go 4, but I'm going to say every week he misses, it goes up another point. So if he misses 2 weeks, I would go up to a 6. If it's a month, we're up to an 8. JC Latham is so crucial to this team this year. And again, not panicking. I'm going to say a 4, but out of the guys who would have to miss time heading into this year, with the exception of Cam Ward, he would be number 2 for me of like, dude, you've got to be on the field. Last year, dealt with nagging injuries through training camp, played week 1, had to leave the game with the hip injury and missed 6 weeks. It's like that really curbed his growth throughout the season. And I need to see him out there by the time the pads come on. Like he's got to be out there. He's got to be gelling with whoever his right guard's going to be. And he's got to show that he is going to take a big step in year 3. It is so crucial for him to be on the field. So I'm putting it at 4 right now because, again, Paul Kuharsky reporting it's a short-term injury. He should be back on the field soon. But every week he misses, that panic meter is going to keep going up.
The thing that I'm panicked about is, like you've already alluded to, is that he's had the injury history in the past. Last season for me, hearing that he changed his diet to make sure he was ready for the upcoming season and still was hurt from that little hip situation. Now you're going into this upcoming training camp. You have a little bit of a nagging injury from the spring. I get that. But at the same time, for me, that could also linger into the season. If something that has been nagging you since the spring and has now leaked into training camp, for me, that's like saying, how much can I trust JC Latham? It's as much trust as I have as the mail people, minus Kenny the mailman, because they never put it in the right mailbox.
I know. Why can't we all be on Kenny the mailman's route? I trust Kenny.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the system.
If only he was 6'6", 300 pounds, we could put him at right tackle. Just don't have that. That's what I'm concerned about because this is going to sound terrible. I don't really put any efforts towards Dan Moore Jr. and seeing what he can do at left tackle. He is what he is. We all know that.
Yeah.
JC Latham, you're a top 15 draft pick.
Top 7 draft pick.
Well, top 7.
Yeah,
I was trying to be generous, but
right.
The fact that you're not producing at a high level and you're going into year 3 now?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah. No, he is. And we had the conversation yesterday around like Brock Bowers was sitting on the board for you there and you decided to go with JC Latham. And he just has to be a productive selection for you. He does not have to be Trent Williams, right? Like he does not have to be the best tackle in the league, but he's got to be a guy that gets a second contract and you don't have to replace him 3 or 4 years later. It might have gotten so bad that Isaiah Wilson was back on the roster for a second yesterday. So JC Latham, this is, again, under Cam Ward, because Cam Ward, of course, is the most important person for the Titans this year. And until he leaves, right? Whether he's a bust and he's gone in a couple of years, or whether he's your franchise quarterback, Cam Ward is the most important person to wear the Titans uniform right now. JC Latham this year is number 2. He has to have a better year because you already are going to have to replace Dan Moore at some point. I agree with you. Dan Moore is what he is. He's not a complete and utter disaster, which is a step above what you had at left tackle before him with Andre Dillard and Dennis Daly. but he's going to be gone sooner rather than later. Maybe it's not this upcoming year. Maybe they keep him for a third season, but he could be gone after this year. Skyler on the text line says, seems like the Titans are drafting 2 tackles, rounds 1 and 2 this coming draft. And that's the nightmare scenario, right? Like, you have spent so much investment on this offensive line and have gotten almost nothing out of it. Peter Skoronski's the only draft pick that seems to have hit on the offensive line so far. You have other needs that you need to spend high premium draft capital on. We went through the top 10 cornerbacks list a couple weeks ago. The top 10 ESPN that Jeremy Fowler puts together. And like 9 of the 10 guys on the list were top 15 draft picks at cornerback. If you want to get high-level cornerback play, you've got to spend premium draft picks on a cornerback. The Titans haven't done that in a long time. I get Caleb Farley was 22nd? And we obviously that had extenuating circumstances, but that's a need for you to go get a young, talented cornerback, because Taylor and Flott may be higher quality players than Dan Moore, but I view it in the same way of they're a Band-Aid until you can build that position through the draft. So I would love to see the Titans be able to take a cornerback next year early. But yeah, if JC Latham is either injured or unproductive this year, you're going to have to take a tackle. You really won't have a choice, because Dan Moore is going to be average. And if JC Latham isn't a building block for the future, you have to take a tackle to either play on the left or right, because otherwise you're going to be a disaster on the offensive line for the 5th straight year or whatever we're going on now.
And as far as I'm concerned, right now, Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson is competing for that spot with JC Latham.
See, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm just kind of drawing a little bit, but at the same time, because I say that, it's because we haven't seen much out of JC Latham. I mean, to be fair.
I think he got better throughout the season last year.
That's fair. Okay.
But if he's not on the field and he's not progressing this year, like, better is not good enough. He still wasn't a high-level tackle. He's not somebody that you're like, man, that guy, that's why they took him 7th overall. That's what he has to show this year. I get what you're saying of, like,
on paper right now, that's what it looks like, because there's that depth at the right tackle position. It's very minimal.
Well, they made another move yesterday. They signed Zach Thomas at tackle and waived Ryan Hayes, who was also competing for that swing tackle number 3, tackle number 4 for the Titans, with Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson and Austin Deculus. Let's see, Zachary Thomas, offensive lineman, not the Hall of Fame linebacker. Zach Thomas has played for 6 teams over the past 4 years, almost exclusively on the practice squad. He's played 17 career games and never started. So I'm gonna say that he is not going to be a solution there. You do have Emil Wagner, the undrafted guy from Notre Dame. Again, not a guy who you think is going to blossom into a starting level tackle, but could be some depth there. It's Moore and Latham. Like, that's what it is. It's Dan Moore and it's JC Latham. Those are your starting tackles. I've heard good things about Brandon Crenshaw-Dickson, but I'm not going to jump the gun and say that he's ready to jump in and start if either of those guys can't go. Latham is, again, the second most important player for the Titans this year. If Cam Ward takes a step and looks like a possible franchise quarterback at the end of year 2, and JC Latham makes a Peter Skoronski-like step this year, and it's like, oh, wow, okay, he finally got healthy, and he looks like a franchise right tackle, that just solves so many problems for the Titans heading into next year. You have so many less urgent needs. You could still take a tackle in the first round to be your left tackle. But it's not like, all right, well, if we don't take a tackle now, we're going to be starting a day 2 rookie and a free agent off the street at tackle this year in front of Cam Ward. Like, it solves so many problems if JC Latham is just good this year.
And to your point, if Latham does end up becoming a successful right tackle for this team, you now can carry that momentum with guys like Fernando Carmona that you drafted out of Arkansas, and also Pat Coogan out of Indiana as that center position. So you now have that young talent that you took a flyer on in those later rounds, and can use them as versatile pieces on the offensive line.
Right. So the offensive line, lots of question marks. Now, there are options for growth there. You mentioned the young guys on the interior. JC Latham still has room to grow. There's a scenario where you come out of 2026 saying, man, Dan Moore's at left tackle, and maybe you got to replace him. But outside of that, You've got Skoronski, Coogan, Slater, and Latham on the offensive line, and you feel great. That is a scenario. But I would say the more likely scenario is Skoronski's good. We need a left tackle, a center, a right guard, and maybe a right tackle for next year, which is just a complete and utter disaster considering how much money and draft capital you've spent on the offensive line in the past 5 years.
Yeah, and like I was saying, if it does work out, then the Titans are now put into a good position when it comes to the draft, saying, all we need is a left tackle. We can trade into the first round again with 2 first-round picks. One could be, like you mentioned earlier, for a corner, and the other one could be set on a set-in-stone left tackle.
Yeah, there are still positions that you've got Band-Aids on right now that you need long-term solutions are. Carnell Tate seems to be that you finally have addressed a young, long-term solution at wide receiver. That's great. You've got other premium positions to address, and cornerback and tackle, I think, would be the two at the top of my list heading towards 2027. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Let's go to the phone lines. Dustin in Hopkinsville is called in. Dustin, thanks for calling. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. And we had the conversation yesterday. We've been having it ever since we didn't take Bowers. But I want to spell this out for people. Imagine we took Bowers. We had the best tight end in football. Now we have Cam Ward. His best friend would be Bowers. And you know who else we probably wouldn't have drafted, but I love him to death. He's one of my favorite players on Titan. We probably wouldn't have took him, although Chig can't block very well. We may not have Chig either. We may have dropped him, traded him, whatever. And these things have domino effects. When you have generational talent, we want to go from these guys taking the long shots in the first round to the question marks. JC Latham is multiplying question marks every year he's with us. He's multiplying question marks right here, before they even report. And it's not good news, man. Bowers would have elevated this team instantly. Even if Cam Ward's getting smeared, he's still getting smeared. It doesn't matter. You take generational talent when generational talent. If you don't have generational talent at that position currently, Bowers would change his team. The domino effect of it is we'd still have the helm pick who picked a different position, a different player, and that just keeps multiplying. When you make these bad decisions, you bury yourself. And I'm hoping Borgonzi keeps going. He's picked DK and Imanner, and DK's really worked out well. The question, it's still out on Imanner. But we have to start taking generational talent. Kiss on JC Latham and what he's not doing for this team. It was a bad decision. I hated it when it happened. I wanted to punch every wall in my house and leave the holes there to remind me of how bad this Titans team for years has made decisions in the draft, and these players, these injured guys, go get generational talent, make your team have a one less question mark. That way you don't have to keep using these picks at those positions in future years, and it keeps adding up.
No,
also,
go ahead, Dustin.
I heard they're coming out with a Water Boy 2, and Kim Scattaboo is actually going to be the fill-in when Adam Sandler goes, "Oh!" Hey, y'all have a good one.
Thanks for the call, Dustin. Scattaboo's been taking some strays on the station this week.
And just don't do a backflip when you have a recovering knee injury. Like, that's it.
Yeah, that's probably a smart idea. Quick tangent. Did you see John Harbaugh's speech in front of the Giants from earlier this week? It's pretty funny. It's a tough watch. Not as bad as Brian Callahan's backwards cap speech last year, but it's not super inspiring from John Harbaugh.
Is the John Harbaugh hire going to age like Belichick in North Carolina?
Possibly. I still think he's a really good coach. Yeah. I would have loved to have him in Nashville, but I've never really seen him speak to his team before. It was a little cringy. Again, it wasn't like Brian Callahan bad, but it was he's like, I'm standing here in front of the New York Giants. The New York Giants. We're so honored to be here today, man. It's it got a little bit cringy, but that doesn't win football games. It doesn't lose football games either. Quickly on Dustin's thought on Latham. I am with you. I was sitting there watching the Titans come on the clock, actually in the studio right over there at number 7 in 2024. And I was begging for Brock Bowers. I was like, please take Brock Bowers. He's the best player left on the board. Go get a guy who can change your offense. But I also understood why they took JC Latham, right? Like I totally understand why they took JC Latham, because what were you going to play at tackle if you didn't have JC Latham? Maybe you changed the way you addressed the draft later on that year. So who'd they take in the second round that season? Why am I blanking on that?
It was T'Vondre Sweat.
Right. So maybe you take a tackle at that pick instead of T'Vondre Sweat, which probably would have worked out better for you as well. So you go Bowers, you go tackle there. But your tackle situation then is a second round rookie, which, as we said with cornerbacks, a lot of the best tackles are found in the first round, and Nicholas Petit-Frere. And we saw how bad that offensive line was in 2024. So I would have taken Bowers. I really understand why they had to take Latham, because the offensive line was going to be horrible. And you thought you had your possible franchise quarterback in Will Levis at that point. You had to protect him. And, they took Latham. 7367 says, I know you said Peter was the only success, but I'd have to say he's a bust too, knowing he's become a good left guard, but was drafted to be a left tackle. He wasn't drafted to be a left tackle. They never let him play left tackle. Like, I think I would understand where you're going with that if they started him at left tackle, said he was going to be the left tackle of the future, and then he couldn't do it, and they bumped him inside, and he turned into a good left guard like he has. Sure. No one ever said he was going to be a tackle. I know he played left tackle his last year at Northwestern and was good, but they never tried to play him at left tackle. He was drafted to be a guard. You can have your problems with drafting a guard 11 overall, but he was drafted to be a guard. He's become a very good guard. I wouldn't say he's a bust, even if it wasn't the most valuable way you could have used that pick.
Yeah, back going into that draft, the hype around him was if he did play left tackle, the issue would be the hands. The hands were not big enough and all
short
that.
Arms.
Short arms, the arms, hands, same thing. It's all a part of the same body part. But that was the big issue. And so with the Titans knowing that, you put him as a guard.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts, talk Titans. We're going to get into SEC Media Days as well this hour with the preseason poll coming out at some point today. I'm keeping an eye out for it. We will go through it when it does come out, if it comes out during our show. I have sorted the SEC into tiers of how I think these teams can compete this year. We'll get into that coming up next as well. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Friday morning. Having some fun talking Titans training camp is nearly here. Rookies reported yesterday, veterans report on Tuesday, and then it's go time. We're excited for it. SEC Media Day is also going on this week down in Tampa, wrapped up yesterday. I have clipped up my 5 favorite sound bites from SEC Media Days. We'll get to those coming up at the top of the hour. But the preseason poll going to come out at some point today. We'll find out how the media views the SEC in 2026. I went through as an exercise and just put together tiers of what I think these teams can accomplish this year, I guess would be the best way to put it. Starting with national title contenders. The SEC has not won a national championship in each of the last 3 seasons. They talked about how important it is. Nick Saban yesterday was asked about it, and he said, the best conference isn't determined by who wins national championships. It's about who has the best league top to bottom. But when the SEC won, 10 out of 12 before this 3-year run, I would bet that the SEC was making the point that national championships determine who the best conference is. So it's kind of just whatever situation you're in, whatever fits your narrative, that's what you're going to go with.
It's kind of like the Saban narrative, because out of those 10 of the 12, 5?
A lot of them were his.
6? Yeah. I mean, come on now. It's more of the Saban effect than it is the SEC.
Yeah, that is true. They had a consistent title favorite every year. In the last few years, I mean, Georgia obviously won back-to-back titles, but since then, there's been a lot of really good teams in the SEC, not a lot of great teams in the SEC. I do think 2 teams are great this year and have a chance to win a national championship, Georgia and Texas. And a lot of it is dependent on the quarterback play. Gunnar Stockton has been good. He has not been that elite level quarterback. When you have a great defense and you have a great running game, you don't really need to be elite. We saw that with Stetson Bennett when he was the quarterback of Georgia. Very good player, but not a Heisman caliber player that sometimes you need to be a national championship team. Texas, that is a loaded roster. Sark hasn't been able to get over the top. They've been to the playoffs twice. They've gotten to the semis. They have not been able to win the biggest games at the biggest moments, and obviously missed the playoffs last year. But big transfer portal class. They've got Arch Manning, who was ascending at the end of last season. Can he take that next step and be what everybody expects him to be, which is Heisman candidate, number 1 overall pick? I think Georgia and Texas are both national championship contenders this year.
I would agree. No, hands down, because you look at Georgia, for me, I have them going undefeated. It's just their schedule is so favorable for them.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's not challenging enough, but with a schedule like that, they can slip up in a playoff.
There are some tough games in there, right? I think they play at Alabama this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look back and see other ones, but you're right. It's a schedule that they might be favored in all 12 of their games. Texas going to be very good this year. Winning that game week 2 against Ohio State would be huge, because I think you win that game. Last year, they didn't get the benefit of the doubt as a 3-loss team. Part of that had to do with losing to Florida, who was not very good last year. But you lost that game and you put yourself into a corner where it was like you kind of had to win 7 games in the SEC, which is not easy to do, especially with a 9-game conference schedule this year. You lose that game against Ohio State. 9-3 just may not be good enough. You're probably going to have to go 8-1 in the SEC. So winning that game against Ohio State would be huge. But I think Georgia and Texas, both national title contenders. I've got 5 playoff hopefuls this year. 4 of them were in the playoff last year. Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. I think those are teams that have rosters that are good enough to make the playoffs again. Will they be able to repeat the performance from last year? I don't know. Alabama has a new quarterback. Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas A&M all returning their quarterbacks, which I think is huge. I think those 4 teams, and I will add LSU in there as playoff hopefuls for this year, teams that should be the goal for them. They're going to be 9, 10-win teams. Not all of them are going to be able to make it. I find it hard to believe 7 SEC teams are going to get in. They're going to cannibalize each other a little bit. But I would say those 5 teams, they're going into this season with the goal of being in the college football playoff this year.
Yeah, the one team you mentioned there, and that's Alabama. I'm very curious to see how that quarterback position plays out. It's redshirt freshman Keelan Russell. See how he, commands that offense, if he is the quarterback of the future, this honestly is a make or break year for a guy like Kalen DeBoer, just to prove that he's worth being the head coach in the SEC for Alabama.
Right.
Like we've all talked about in years past and also months past, you don't want to be the guy to follow up the guy, which is Nick Saban. I think Keelan Russell is the guy to really help out Kalen DeBoer's case to be a coach for this team.
Yeah, I mean, he is a very highly touted recruit coming out last year and sat the bench behind Ty Simpson. 5-star plus, same thing that we say Jared Curtis is or Faison Brandon is. He is a highly rated recruit. He's been sitting the bench. We'll see what they can do. But I would say those 5 teams, Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, those are my 5 playoff hopefuls, but likely not national title contenders. Dark horses, I have 2. 2 teams that going to need a few things to go right for them, but could end up making a run and getting into the playoffs. I've got Tennessee in there. I think Tennessee, the roster's really good. The running back room is good. The offensive line is good. The defense has some really good pieces. Is the quarterback play good enough? Is your young player, whether it's George McIntyre or more likely Faison Brandon, are they going to give you good enough quarterback play to get into the playoff? We saw Nico 2 years ago as his first year as a starter lead a good Tennessee. Got to go to the playoff this year, but I think they're a dark horse to do it.
Yeah, I could see them being a dark horse. The team I feel like that was left off that list would be Kentucky.
Kentucky, really?
Yeah.
Well, my other dark horse is Missouri that I would put in the same tier as Tennessee. Again, need some things to go right. Ahmad Hardy has to be healthy, right? He's been cleared to resume football activities, but he got shot. Like that's not something that you plan for. It's not a hamstring strain. Like it's a very serious situation that he's working his way back from, but he might be the best running back in the country. And so I'll put Missouri in the dark horse spot. I think they're going to do what Drinkwitz usually does. They'll be just outside looking in.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just gonna put my bias hat on real quick. After listening to the SEC media days, I'm starting to drink the juice a little bit.
Okay.
Mississippi State, they might be a dark horse.
All right,
Kamario Taylor, along with Amari Evans on the defensive side of the ball, Dalen Evans, Amari Williams is the right name. Sorry,
yeah.
They have some decent pieces on defense. Bringing back Zach Arnett, like don't get me wrong, really good defensive coach. Not a great interim head coach. I mean, I get that.
The Hokies just did the same thing with Brent Pry, which I think was great. Brent Pry has proven to be a really good defensive coordinator, maybe not a head coach. There are guys who are built to be the CEO of a program and guys who are built to be more hands-on calling the plays. So I like the Zach Arnett hire there. You mentioned Kentucky quickly. Why do you think Kentucky could be a dark horse?
And it's not just because Will Stein mentioned, it's because of me. I really do think that there is something about that offense that's going to really get a boost to them this year. And because of also the transfers they brought in, there's something about this NIL era and transfer portals, especially when it comes to I'd say a mid-class team in the SEC like Kentucky. I would look at Kentucky right now as the Vanderbilt 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Okay.
When Clark Lee kind of was starting to really get his feet under him at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Same thing with Will Stein. I know it's only year one, but the hype around this team, the way they've attacked the transfer portal, I just think the offensive philosophy, there is something special in Kentucky.
I do really like Will Stein. And yeah, you're right. Jeff Lebby was raving about Kamario Taylor yesterday, compared him to RG3.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out. I did have 4 teams in the dark horses. I decided to split it. I felt like there was a divide. So I have Tennessee and Missouri as dark horses. I put this as like, don't sleep on these teams. I don't think they're playoff dark horses, but I think they'll be better than maybe people are expecting. I think they'll finish higher. Again, we haven't seen the preseason poll, but I think they'll finish higher than teams are going to project them. Vanderbilt, South Carolina. I said it the other day, like, I think there's the narrative of post-Diego Pavia, Vandy might just regress back to being a 3-win team. I think they're going to be a bowl team this year, maybe a little bit better than that. And South Carolina, I can't get it out of my head that they've got Sellers, they've got Stewart, they've got Harbor, they've got high-level athletes, high-level players. I think they'll be better than the 4-8 that they were last year. So I have those as my don't sleep on teams. And then everybody else, I think it's a building year. A lot of first-year head coaches, Auburn, Arkansas, Florida, Kentucky. I've got Mississippi State as just kind of in the others to watch, but that's my tiers heading into 2026.
If I may, the 2 teams that I mentioned, I'll leave Kentucky in that other tier, but Mississippi State, drop them into don't sleep on them.
Okay.
That's what I meant. Sorry, I might have jumped the gun a little bit.
I like it. All right.
No, I do like those. Like you mentioned with Vanderbilt and listening to Clark Lee at SEC Media Days this week, he just seems so invested into Team 6.
Yeah.
And that's how he categorized. I thought that was a great way to look at it.
That's what he's done. And I love the way he does that. It's like, yeah, you're building the program, but you only get this specific team once. And like, you've got to invest everything into that specific team because you don't know who's going to be gone. You don't know who's going to be coming in. Clark Lee, I think, is so good at just living in the moment, being locked in, being where his feet are. And I think that really shines through every time that he gets to speak.
Oh, hands down. And I mentioned this yesterday with Mitch Light on DVD. I asked him about just the transfers and how they've handled it. And he kind of alluded to the same thing. Like you have a backfield in MK Young and Cedric Alexander. And he highlighted Cedric Alexander saying like that guy does so much on the offensive side of the ball that people don't really recognize.
Yeah.
For a freshman quarterback, if Jared Curtis is starting, that's huge.
Yeah.
Massive.
Yeah. That whole running back room with Seti and MK Young, and you don't know what the offensive line is going to look like, but they brought in some talent there. So I'm excited to see what Vandy does this year. Again, I'm not going to put them as like a playoff dark horse, but I'm going to say don't sleep on them. Don't think of Vandy of 3 years ago. Think of Vandy being a team that's going to be consistently competitive in the SEC. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You can text or call. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content and chat with us there. We'll wrap up hour number 1 on this Friday. After this, Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you. Today, the Nashville Sounds take on the Sugarland Space Cowboys. The first pitch is at 7:05. Catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Family Leisure, Maple Street Biscuit Company, and Social Cantina. I called the Sounds and Sugarland games on Tuesday and Wednesday. My favorite part about calling those games is coming up with the trivia questions that Jeff does in the sixth inning. Let me see if you can do this one. This one should be pretty easy. Tuesday, the question was, because Kevin Biggio plays for the Space Cowboys. His dad, Craig Biggio, of course, Hall of Famer. He got into the 3,000 hit club in 2007. Can you name one of the 6 players who has joined the 3,000 hit club since?
Since?
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's been 6 since Biggio did it. Can you name one of them?
I mean, one of them's going to be Ichiro, right?
Ichiro is one of them.
Yeah.
I guess, can you name all of them? There's
Ted Gwynn is another one, right?
No. He
no.
was before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So since 2007, I'll give you a hint. There are 2 Yankees. There is 1 Cardinal. And then 2 other sluggers from the AL.
1 Cardinal. Goodness. I'm trying to think. I mean, one that comes to mind would be Albert, but he had the 700 homers. There's no way it was 3.
Wasn't Albert? He was the second most recent one, I want to say.
Really?
Unless I'm forgetting something.
Okay, so it was Albert. All right, so Albert, Ichiro, and
yes, Albert Pujols entered. He had 3,384 hits.
Okay, yeah, I guess I just undertook that then.
So
okay,
Albert, Ichiro,
and another recent one, a Yankee. Let's go.
There are 2 Yankees. They were the next 2 directly after Biggio.
Okay. Oh man, this is gonna be tough. I'm trying to go back in time with that number. I mean,
it's their
Jeter.
Jeter.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Why am I overthinking this?
It's the left side of their infield for
Jeter and Rodriguez.
Jeter and A-Rod, yep. And then the other 2, one played for my Tigers. That one should be easy.
Miggy?
Yeah. And then the other one, a longtime third baseman, mainly known for his time with the Rangers.
Why am I drawing a blank on this one?
This one, actually, I completely forgot he got to 3,000 hits. But yes, he did.
Oh, man. It's not Josh Hamilton, right?
No.
Godly, no. I don't know.
Adrian Beltre.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that was our trivia question on Tuesday, which I thought was a fun one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I want to be more creative than just like, who's won MVP for the Astros? Like, I thought that one was more interesting. So that was fun. We are talking SEC Media Days to wrap up hour number 1. We're going to get into my favorite moments from SEC Media Days in just a second. Lane Kiffin was the big fish this week down in Tampa. Everybody wanted to hear what he had to say, and everyone wanted to ask him questions. So, of course, he filibustered for 25 minutes and only allowed a handful of questions yesterday. Did say that he regretted the way that he left Ole Miss and wishes that he would have, asked to coach the team, be told no, and just leave it at that and move on. Lane Kiffin, again, not going to be a surprise to anybody. He's going to be the villain everywhere he goes this year. He is probably going to be booed in every single stadium that he goes into. And I think he loves that. I think that's exactly what he wanted when he made this move.
100%. He likes being the villain, the heel, however you describe him as. But I just think there's something to highlight with Lane Kiffin. It's not just the rivalries anymore with, how Tennessee and Ole Miss had the whole faking injury situation in Knoxville and people were throwing golf balls, mustard packets, whatever. I think that carries over because Lane Kiffin, it's the style of coaching for him. It's not the team. It's not the players. It's the coach. So he can just embrace the villain role and have his fun with it.
Yep.
Because he is the fodder of the SEC. That's all he is.
Having to go back to Ole Miss in game 3 at LSU, again, I'll say it over and over. My favorite game of 2026. I cannot wait for that one. And then having to go back to Tennessee. I know it's more removed, but Tennessee's never going to forget about that, and they will let him hear it every single time. We might hear more about that in my top favorite sound bites from SEC Media Days, which we'll do coming up next. I might have missed some. Again, I didn't listen to every second of every interview at SEC Media Days, but there were so many clips this week where I either enjoyed it because I thought it was great from the coach or it just made me laugh. And we're going to get to some of these coming up next. SEC Media Days wrapped up yesterday. We'll go through some of the best clips from the coaches up at the podium over the past week. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 up next here on Next Man Up, 1025 The Game. Second hour on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. SEC Media Days wrapped up yesterday. All 16 teams made their way through Tampa, and some coaches aren't all that entertaining. It's a lot of coach speak. There are some coaches who it's not coach speak, but not quite as funny. Like, there aren't moments that make you giggle. Like Clark Lee. Clark Lee, super insightful, and you like listening to what he says. But I wouldn't say there was a moment this week where Clark Lee said something super notable that everybody's talking about. If I was going to use a Vandy clip, it would have been the Cedric Alexander. You're married. What's that like? Well, I'm not married. I'm married to the game. But I wanted to go through and relive some of the best moments of SEC Media Days. I've got 5 clips that I cut up from some of the funnier, more notable moments from SEC coaches throughout the week in Tampa. I will say I was going to say these are in no particular order, but we are counting down from 5 to 1. These are my favorites. Number 5, Kirby Smart at the podium being asked about the new scheduling model in the SEC.
That schedule there on your right. Looks like there's no Tennessee, which I'm sure is extremely bizarre for you. Just what are your thoughts on not playing them? And does that kind of feel like it's one less win being taken away off the schedule?
Yeah, you said that, not me. It's a tough place to play and tough team to play. I got a lot of respect for Josh and their staff. I mean, they're a tough prep. They're really hard to prepare for, and I'm glad other teams get an opportunity to do that because they get some new teams to play. And then we get some new teams to play. So very unique scheduling. Looking forward to the new format and the matchups that are created through the new format.
Kirby Smart, I will say that clip was taken out of context a little bit throughout social media this week of the "you said that, not me" was cut off. He was very complimentary of Josh Heupel and the fans in Neyland and all that. But I did think that was funny. It's like, do you think that's one less win on your schedule? You said that, not me.
Kirby Smart knows how to work the system. He knows how to work the media. I mean, kudos to him. I mean, he earlier in the week was advocating for the breakaway league, if that is the case. And then now he's over here saying, yeah, that was you that said that, not me. And it's perfect.
I will say it is going to be strange, Tennessee not playing Georgia or Florida this year. I know you and Big Joe discussed this on Chasing Big Joe earlier this week, that it's what, 30 plus years since the last time Tennessee didn't play Florida or Georgia. And now they're not playing either of them this season.
Yeah, I believe 36 for Georgia, or 36 for Florida, 34 for Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I get it. Like, you go to 9 games and you've got 16 teams in the league. And it's what? Georgia still has not played at Texas A&M, and A&M's been in the league since 2012 or 2013. Like, it's the scheduling model did need to be updated, but I hate that it's at the cost of some of the historic rivalries that we've seen.
Yeah, I feel like the rivalry tradition in the SEC, again, their phrase they use, it just means more. It truly does. It's just something that if you've grown up in the South, especially in SEC country, you just hate to see this go away. Because what was it last year? The 44-41 thriller in overtime.
Yeah.
We're not going to get that. Yeah, we're not going to get that this year, unfortunately. So hopefully it'll be back in 27 for sure, but I just hate missing it this year. Yeah,
they had to change up the way the scheduling was done, but it is weird to say Tennessee not playing Florida, not playing Georgia this year. So that was number 5. Kirby, you said it, not me. Don't worry, Vols fans, though. Josh Heupel made this list next. Here at number 4, asked about Lane Kiffin coming back to Neyland Stadium later this year.
Certainly hope our fan base hasn't cooled off. So, whether it's the grocery stores being fully stocked with mustard, or our sports stores making sure that they got reinforcements on the golf balls. Hopefully, Knoxville's ready for his arrival.
I know it was joking, and I know he was just trying to be funny, but saying it with a stone cold face into the camera of, yep, they better have mustard in the grocery stores and golf balls in the sports stores when Lane Kiffin comes to town. I love it. That's what college football is all about. College sports is all about the rivalries and the atmosphere. I'm not advocating, and I don't think Josh Heupel was advocating for people to pelt Lane Kiffin with golf balls, but it's about those kinds of moments where the fan base is just ravenous on a villain that they see on the field. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, because when you go into that upcoming week or whatever week they play in Knoxville, I feel like for me, if you're a local news outlet or if you're the campus news outlet of whatever broadcast organization you're with, you're covering every local department store that has mustard. You're covering every golf store that has every golf ball known to man. That's the Monday headline. What is the intake of all the golf balls and mustard packets on Monday morning?
100%. Like in Oxford, that's going to be a week-long tailgate, basically, to get ready for Lane Kiffin coming. I don't know if it'll be quite that for Neyland, because, again, this isn't the first time he's come back, and it's much further removed from when he slighted Tennessee and left in the middle of the night. But Tennessee fans, they're ones to hold a grudge, and they're going to be maybe not quite to the level Ole Miss is, but they're going to be ready for Lane Kiffin coming back in November. So that was number 4, Josh Heupel wanting to make sure Knoxville ready with mustard and golf balls when LSU comes to Neyland. Number 3, this one not quite as funny, but it got a lot of headlines. Will Stein, stepping to the podium for the first time at SEC Media Days, asked why Kentucky is going to turn around.
Why is that? Kentucky historically has fought against a narrative, against perception. Why do you think you can win big here?
This is going to sound like really, I think because of me, to be honest. I think because of me. I think I know what it takes. I've seen it at the highest levels. I know what it takes to recruit at this level. And you just got to believe, man. You just got to put the ball down and play. There's not really else to be said. Is it going to happen overnight? I don't know. I really don't. If I had a crystal ball, everybody in this room would be really, really rich right now. I don't. And so the best determination of if what you're doing is working is putting the ball down and playing football.
I love it. Hell yes, Will Stein. That's just a football guy right there. And I love the pause, waiting to answer the question, and then starting to say, this is going to sound really, and he paused, but he was going to say arrogant, I'm sure, egotistical. But again, we said this earlier this week. You need that. If you're going to coach at the highest level of college football, you can't have anything less than 100% confidence in your ability to go change a program. Clark Lee, in the Netflix documentary, said that he views himself as the savior of Vanderbilt football. And sure, that sounds egotistical, but if he doesn't believe it, who else is going to believe it? And I love that from Will Stein coming in and saying, guess what? I am the guy who is going to turn Kentucky football around and get Kentucky back to being a consistent contender in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying the guy 5 years, $28.5 million. Either he could have went that route, which he did, or go, it's because of the fans. That's why we're going to get over the hump. No, that's the easy way out. I like that from a guy like Will Stein.
That's an easy opportunity. Like, that's a lob for coach speak right there. That question of why is Kentucky going to turn around? Oh, well, that's a great question. We've just got so much investment from the top down in our athletic department, and I really appreciate everybody in our program, blah, 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 blah. The fans are great, blah. No, he was honest, and he said, I am coming here because I can turn around Kentucky football. Loved it. Loved it from Will Stein. Number 2, probably the most popular incident of SEC Media Days, John Sumrall answering a question when somebody gets a phone call.
I'd say no two decisions are alike. You know, like Lane and I are friends, and Lane and I talked several times through the process of October, November about what it was looking like for both of our schedules of how things were going to unfold. And you'd be kicked out of our team meeting. I swear, like, you're lucky I'm not going to throw this freaking podium right now. Like, drives me crazy. I would say who is that, but I'm not going to embarrass anybody.
I mean, I thought it was great from John Sumrall. People, similarly to the Kirby Smart or the Josh Heupel comment, I think people took it too seriously. Like, he was clearly joking around and having some fun with the media, but John Sumrall impressed me too. I mean, listening to his whole interview, again, that's a football guy. That's somebody that stands up there, commands a room. I would like to have him as the leader of my program. I think the future for Florida could be bright with him at the helm.
And also, too, with that comment, the undertones of it, that not only just is joking with the media, but to me, that's a direct message at your players on your roster. Like, this is what would happen if that happens in our meetings, just straight up. So don't go and bring your phone in there. You can text your girlfriends and your family afterwards. We're all about business.
Yeah.
That's the notion I got out of that.
No, it shows that he has standards in his program, and it's something small. It's like it's not huge that he would kick somebody out for having their phone go off in a meeting, but it's clear that he has standards, and even in a situation like that where it's media days and he has no responsibility for any of the reporters, that got to him so much that he's like, turn it off. Like, you're lucky I don't throw this podium right now. That's number 2. John Sumrall, not happy about a phone going off during his press conference. All right, last one. Number 1. This one hasn't gotten as many headlines, but I did see it yesterday, and I listened to it like 5 times because it just made me giggle. Ryan Silverfield yesterday, the new head coach at Arkansas. There's been these like tweets going around about his lack of aura is the word that they're using. It's even younger than me. I don't get it. Aura. Here was his response when asked about not having enough of it.
I love it. I never thought coming here today, these last couple of days that people would talk about aura. First off, I don't know what the hell that means. Like I said all along, I don't, if it's about fashion or all that stuff, certainly have no aura. But if it's about having a presence about yourself, those that are around me know that at least I'm a genuine, real dude. And I think you talk to our players, they get a presence around me, they get it. And if aura means being cool, doing all those things, well, listen, I got a hot wife for a reason, right? I mean, I can get down, I can recite, Notorious B.I.G. lyrics. I can recite, whatever you want me to do. Let's go. But I've got enough aura, enough to find ways to win football games, and that's all that matters.
I thought that was so funny. I've got a hot wife, and I can recite Notorious B.I.G. lyrics. I didn't know much about Ryan Silverfield, and, he seemed, again, this is just judging a book by his cover. He didn't seem like he had a lot of aura. I thought we were going to see a whole bunch of coach speak from Ryan Silverfield. That comment, I've got a hot wife and I can recite Notorious B.I.G. lyrics. Sign me up for Arkansas football.
Yeah, he's going to be oral farming with the Hogs. That's what he's doing. He's oral farming with the Hogs. He's the one that's leading that farm all the way to glory.
Yeah, you just know that throughout the season, when Arkansas gets a win, which you would expect they're going to win at least a couple of games here, there's going to be some aura farming going on from the social media group over there with the Razorbacks. So those were my top 5 moments from SEC Media Days. Some funny, some just like get you going, like Will Stein. I thought SEC Media Days was fun this year. There were a lot of good moments. I'm sure I missed some too. If there's any others that you're thinking of, let us know on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll wrap up the conversation on SEC Media Days coming up next. We'll get to some Preds talk coming up at the bottom of the hour. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you. SEC Media Days in the books. Been an entertaining week. We're getting closer and closer to football season. Last week of Media Days next week with the Big Ten out there in Chicago. So we'll have some coverage of that as well. I do want to see, has the preseason poll come out yet? Because I know it comes out the day after, but I still haven't seen it. 247 Sports did release a preseason poll. They've got Georgia as the winner, Texas at 2, Ole Miss and A&M tied at 3, Alabama, Oklahoma, LSU, Tennessee rounds out the top half. They've got Vandy at 13, which I think is a little low, below Auburn, below Florida. We'll see when the actual one comes out. But overall, entertaining week down there in Tampa. I will say the new head coaches around the SEC, most of them impressed me in one way or the other. Like we talked about Summerall. I thought he was impressive. Stein, of course, was great. Pete Golding, he didn't make our top 5 clips, but I thought he might have had one of the most impressive press conferences overall. The way he handled the conversation, because he is in a tough situation. He was kind of forced into the head coaching position after Lane Kiffin left, and they've kept him on full time. He is the head coach, no longer the interim head coach, but it is a tough situation given what happened last year. He talked about what was his message to Kawan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss on following Lane Kiffin. And I thought it was great. It was Lane Kiffin left when they probably would have built a statue for him if he stayed. Now they wouldn't pee on him if he was on fire. And it's like, do you want that same legacy if you leave for LSU, or you can be a beloved figure here in Oxford when you leave? Like, it's very candid. It's I thought that was great from Pete Golding, and he didn't really villainize Lane Kiffin that much. He tried to be as cordial, but he was like, I didn't come here to coach for Lane Kiffin. I came because I wanted me and my family to live in Oxford. So Pete Golding impressed me. Didn't make our top 5 moments, but I thought he was really good this week down in Tampa.
I mean, as a Mississippi State fan, I am, from a coaching perspective, rooting for him. To me, it just gives off the Matt Luke vibes when he took over for Ole Miss back in the day. And obviously he was the interim head coach and won the Egg Bowl that year in Starkville. And then the following year was a head coach, and I believe got canned either midway or near the end of the season. Yeah. I have the same vibe with Pete Golding, but hopefully with the NIL now and having Trinidad back, they're going to have something that is a lot better of a product than it was back then.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a decent amount from last year, whether it's graduation, NFL draft, Lane Kiffin poaching some of his former players. But you bring back those 2 key pieces with Lacey, who's a possible Heisman contender at running back, and Chambliss, who some people think is the best quarterback in all of college football. I want to say The Athletic, they released their quarterback rankings, and he was number 1 this week. So Ole Miss, they've got a chance to get back to the playoff, and they were a player or 2 away from playing for a national championship last year. So I thought most of the new head coaches were good. The only guy that I don't really have like an impression on much, not saying he was bad, but didn't like catch my attention, was Alex Golish. Like, I can't really think of anything notable that he said this week.
Yeah, definitely flying under the radar. I mean, we've mentioned it throughout this week, Joe, Chase, and everybody else, Connor as well on the airwaves, and especially you as well. Like, the thing that grabs home for me with Auburn is the amount of turnover on the offensive side of the football. Every single one of their starters, except for one, are all transfers.
Yep.
Majority of those are coming from USF, where he was at previously.
Right.
Bringing in Byron Brown for his quarterback position. I think having the continuity with head coach and Alec Golish and Brown at the quarterback position, it does wonders.
Yeah, and I like Golish. I don't have, and it's talking season, right? Like, these guys can all go win the press conferences, and if they don't win games, it's not going to matter. But he was the one guy that, I think the only quote that I really saw from him was I don't have goals for this season. I just want to set the foundation for years to come, which some people had a problem with, saying it's like, you didn't want to set a goal for this year, and if you're bad, who cares? But I understand what he's saying, that this isn't a 1-year fix. It really never is. Some places can do it. We looked at Indiana, what Kurt Cignetti was going to do there, but like, not everybody's Kurt Cignetti. I don't think you can look at this and say for Alex Golish, like, oh, we have to be 7-5 this year to get to where we want to go. I get what he was saying. He wants to set the foundation and hopefully this year can be a building block that they can get back to where Auburn football has been moving forward.
Yeah, you got to make sure you establish that culture like you're talking about there. The culture is so massive when you go to, I guess, from USF to Auburn, and especially in the SEC, it just, again, coming back to the phrase, it means more. It really does. There is a different standard when you get into the SEC for football. And I don't know. This might be a bit of an issue, growing pains, maybe through week 1 through week 3, and how the offense kind of gels together. Sure, some of those guys are still coming from USF, but I'm saying from offensive line standpoint, from, even from the tight ends, they're an extension to the offensive line. You got to make sure you pick up your key blocks. And if you're doing more of like a chip block, then you're going off to a route, then go ahead. But I think that's a big thing to watch for, is if this chemistry really starts gelling in week 1 to week 3.
Yep. I would agree with that. And Byron Brown's a good quarterback. Like, he was good at USF. They faltered down the stretch, missed the playoffs, but they beat Florida last year. They had another big win too.
They beat Boise
State early on. Yeah. So it's a good team. Boise obviously didn't end up being as good as they were with Genty the year before when they went to the playoff. But out of the new head coaches, we're going to remove Lane Kiffin from this. Which do you think has the most long-term success at their current school? Sumrall, Silverfield, Stein, Golding, Golish.
Man, that's really good. I would have to go with my gut telling me Will Stein, just because of, obviously, talking about at the press conference, but also when you give a guy that much money, and you could also include DeBoer into that conversation with the money aspect, but there's something about Will Stein, the buy-in, like we've talked about with a lot of these new coaches. I think that's the big thing, the big takeaway from SEC Media Days. Which one of these new head coaches sold you on their buy-in?
Yeah.
Because for me, Will Stein sold me on the buy-in.
I like Stein. And coming from working with Dan Lanning, I think he's a great up-and-coming coach that Kentucky hired. Golding goes into the best situation right now, but if we're looking long-term, I'm going to say John Sumrall at Florida. The Gators are a sleeping giant. That's a team with all the resources in the world to go out and build a great roster. Sumrall has won everywhere he's been, whether that's at Troy, went to the playoffs at Tulane. I think he's a guy who can turn that program around. And Florida, compared to these other programs and the investment historically for football, again, we're removing Lane Kiffin and LSU from this. And Auburn invests in their football program. So Golish is going to have that. But like Arkansas with Silverfield, Kentucky with Stein, Ole Miss with Golding, Florida is going to pour more resources into their football program. And I think Sumrall can be the guy to turn that thing around. So I'm going Sumrall that has the most long-term success of the new coaches.
Yeah, I'll stick with my first answer with Will Stein.
I like it. I think those would probably be there's reasons to like all of them. I think I would put Silverfield at the bottom just because I think he was my least favorite hire out of the 5, and it's Arkansas, which probably the least resources out of the 5. I would say Sumrall, Stein, Golding, and Golish, I think, are all in good positions to succeed.
I guess a hot wife can only get you so much, right?
That is true. That is true. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, we'll talk Predators. The story of the week, Alex Doherty at the Tennessean putting out there that he thinks the Predators should trade Roman Josi. We'll talk about that and what the Predators should accomplish this year as Chris McFarland takes over in the front office. 615-737-1025. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Friday morning. We'll get back into football at the top of the hour. Training camps opening up across the NFL. We'll look at some of the biggest NFL storylines as we move towards the new season. But we didn't get to talk about it yesterday because TD was in with us. We like to keep it focused on football with Tehran. The Predators heading towards the new season. Chris McFarland now in charge as the president of hockey operations and general manager, putting his own twist on this Predators roster. And Alex Doherty of the Tennessean theorized, just as they did 10 years ago with Shea Weber, that the Preds could trade their captain, Roman Josi. And it's a different situation. Shea Weber was younger. Your roster was in a much different place back then. Roman Josi, I think, is still valuable to anybody around the NHL. I just don't think I'm there yet on trading away a guy like Josi. I think he is more valuable to the Predators as a veteran presence in this room. Still a very good player, by the way. It's not like he's Pawpaw out there playing on the blue line. He's still a very good player. I think he is more valuable to you as a pillar of this team during this transition phase from the old core to the new core than he would be in a trade. I don't think you would get the type of haul you would expect coming back from Roman Josi. I heard Adam and Connor talking about this the other day. I think it would disappoint Preds fans, right? It's like you get the notification, Roman Josi is being traded to X team, and you're sitting there like, man, what's the return going to be? And I think it would be oh, that's it? So I think Roman Josi is more valuable to you than he would be for the assets you would get back in a trade.
Yeah, I mean, he's not Roman Josi of 2021, 2022 when he had 96 points. Like, we get that. I think it would be a bad option for the Preds to entertain the idea of trading Roman Josi. One, because last year when he had the POTS diagnosis, trying to really get a better gauge of that, now having a full season under his belt of knowing how to play with it, I think it would be beneficial to keep him in the market.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the POTS diagnosis obviously is difficult, and he's been working through that. He did deal with some injuries that was not POTS related last year. He's not going to be a Norris finalist every single year, right? Like, that's not where he is in his career, but he's still a very good player. And I do think that with what you have right now and what you have coming through the pipeline, you've already, oh, wow. We have breaking news. All right, let's go with this now. We'll get back to the Preds. The LeBron saga is over.
No.
LeBron James has just signed a 2-year deal worth $8 million with the Philadelphia 76ers.
You're kidding me.
I said all week I thought that was the best place that he could go. The Sixers bring in Jaylen Brown. Joel Embiid is still there. And I think the hope is after multiple years where he hasn't been able to stay healthy, that he can finally get back, maybe not to MVP form, but get back to being one of the most dominant big men in the league. You've got Tyrese Maxey. You've got the young guy in VJ Edgecombe that they drafted out of Baylor a couple years ago. And now you add LeBron, who LeBron is no longer the guy who's going to drive your team to a championship. Still a very good player, though. And being able to be a part of that team and not have to be the go-to guy every single night, I think if you're looking at the best chance for LeBron James to go win a championship, I think this might have been it.
Well, you know, he kind of mentioned at that Fanatics event, trusting the process, and everybody went berserk over that.
Yeah.
I could see him being successful in Philadelphia, but the issue is Joel Embiid not playing majority of those minutes.
Right.
You got to have him on the court. And if Philadelphia's idea of having LeBron James and Joel Embiid split minutes because Embiid's not going to be fully on the court all the time, then I don't know if I can get on board with it. But you did mention at the beginning of that, Jaylen Brown, huge piece to the puzzle.
Yes, getting Jaylen Brown changes the outlook of this Sixers team. And I didn't think that made them the favorite in the East. And LeBron is not, again, it's not like you're bringing in prime LeBron. But adding both of them makes this team really interesting. You look at the roster here for the Sixers, and Jaylen Brown, I think, is probably the one you can rely on the most again, Joel Embiid, he's played a total of, trying to do the math, 86 games over the past 3 years. So he's basically played one full season over the past 3 seasons. Looking at the 76ers overall roster, I mentioned the guys who are probably going to start. Maxey at the point guard spot. You've got Brown at the 2. I guess LeBron he'll be the 3, but he can really play 1 through 4. Edgecombe, again, kind of a bigger guy on the wing. And then you've got Embiid in the paint. They also added Phylon from Alabama, was kind of one of the guys who fell in the draft this year. Let's see. Who else is on this team? Anthony Simons is on this team. That's a shooter off the bench that you've got. They have Duke Miles, Vandy product as well. I just think I think that's the right spot for LeBron James if his goal is to chase a championship. If he wanted nostalgia, he could have gone back to Miami. He could have gone back to Cleveland. I think the Sixers is the best spot. You're playing in the East. There's not a superpower in the East. I know the Knicks just won the championship, but I do think that this gives him a path to get back to the NBA Finals this year, given the team around him. The big question is, does Joel Embiid actually make it through the entire season?
That's the big question for sure. I mean, you mentioned the Knicks. I don't think the Knicks will be as powerful as they were this past season. I think their draw going into the playoffs, sure, they had to go through, Atlanta, and then you have a few other teams. Like you've taken down Boston. You took down the Spurs in the finals. I get all that. But to me, for LeBron, I think it would have been beneficial for him to go back to Miami, to be with Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Hopefully I can pronounce that properly.
That was close. Antetokounmpo.
Whatever. I just can't do it. But minus that, like you're getting Giannis and Joel Embiid. If you compare them, I would compare Giannis to be a younger version of Joel Embiid. Sure, they play a little bit differently. Obviously, Giannis is more flexible, can kind of be versatile with his style of play on the court. But you still have that big man that you can rely on more heavily than a guy like Joel Embiid.
Yes, I would agree with that the floor might have been higher in Miami. I love ceilings and floors are like my biggest analogy that we make. I think the floor might have been higher because Bam and Giannis have proven for the better part of their career that they're going to be on the floor, especially when you get to the postseason. Joel Embiid has a super high ceiling. Like he could still be one of the top 10 players in the NBA if he's healthy the full year. That's a big if. He has never played more than 68 games in a season. And he's only played more than 51 4 times in his 10-year career. So basically, he plays half the season most of the time. He's due for a healthy season. He played 39 games in 2023-24. He played 19 games 2 years ago, and he played 38 games this year. So he has not even gotten to the midway point in any of the past 3 seasons. He's due for a healthy year. That starting 5 of Maxey, Brown, Edgecombe, James, and Embiid, that can compete. And you're going to have to find some depth. We mentioned a couple of names that could be depth pieces there. If they can stay healthy, that team can compete in the East. Will they beat the Thunder or the Spurs if they get to an NBA Finals? I don't know. I didn't think the Knicks were going to win against the Spurs, and they did. So you get yourself into that opportunity. Who knows what can happen in a 7-game series? I do think the path is there for LeBron on that team to get back to the finals. Out of his options, I think he made the right choice if his goal is to go get one more championship.
I'm just going to have to disagree. I think Miami has better depth when it comes to going, further in the playoffs or even trying to win a championship. I just don't see the depth on this Philadelphia team right now. I mean, you could probably say Jabari Walker in some cases. You mentioned Duke Miles. I mean,
I don't expect much from Duke Miles.
I know. As a rotational player, it's a joke, obviously. But, I mean, I just don't see any true depth. When you look at Miami's roster, I see depth. I see Tim Hardaway Jr. I see Bobby Portis. I see Davion Mitchell. I mean, obviously, Andrew Wiggins will probably get some form of a starting role with that team. If you're LeBron, you should be in South Beach, but that's just me.
Is there enough guard play on that team? I know you have Giannis. I know you have Bam, but you'd basically be asking LeBron to play point guard for you, and there's not a ton of shooting in Miami. Here, you get to put him out there with a group of guards Brown and Maxey and Edgecombe. It's like those guys can carry the load, and LeBron doesn't have to be the first option. I know he wouldn't be the first option with Giannis either, but he can play a role, which I get. It's LeBron James. He's not a role player, but at this point in his career, he can't be the guy who's being asked to put up a 29-point triple-double every single night. Now, he's still averaging what, like 25, 7, and 7? It's still really good, but he can't be the motor for this team. He's got to be a piece for this team. And if the Sixers stay healthy, I think they have the other pieces in place. I don't know if I could say that for the Heat. Giannis, great. Bam, really good player. Where's the guard play that can play alongside LeBron James and handle the ball? I just don't know where that would have come from.
That's fair. Yeah, it's fair. I mean, you'd have to definitely hit the market, but I don't know what's out there in the market.
Right.
Really.
At this point, late in the offseason. Dustin from Hopkinsville says many are getting fired at Miami after the YouTube leak. I'd love to know behind the scenes what happened there, because Pat Riley's sitting up there at the Giannis press conference saying they've got another plane to land. And then the introductory press conference goes up with it being scheduled for Monday, that LeBron's going to be back with the Heat, and then it doesn't happen. I'd love to know behind the scenes what happened there. But there is breaking news. LeBron James, 2-year, $8 million deal. Low money, but LeBron James doesn't really need it at this point. He's going to the Philadelphia 76ers. The LeBron watch is finally over. 4312 says, "Oh God, please, Jake, back to the Preds talk. My ears are bleeding." He is our biggest LeBron hater. Dustin will take offense to that, but 4312 refuses to listen to LeBron talk. So we'll get back to the Preds coming up. The 76ers coming up this season. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game, wrapping up the second hour on this Friday. We will get back into some Preds talk here quickly, but the breaking news right now, LeBron James has signed a 2-year, $8 million deal with the 76ers with a player option. After 3 weeks of waiting, he has finally made his decision, LeBron going to the Sixers. He has put out a statement on Twitter saying, I thought I was done when the season ended. I wasn't ready to announce it and knew I needed some time to really decide, but I was pretty sure I had played my last game. Continuing later on, he says, this is my last decision. I'm not going for money. I'm not going for family. What am I really playing for at this point? I still want to sacrifice. I still want to work. I still want to grind. I still want to compete to win and to have a chance at the feeling of winning another championship. I believe I can help make the Philadelphia 76ers a championship team. So that's from LeBron James. He is headed to Philly. We will take your reaction, 615-737-1025. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I did want to have a conversation about the Predators here. It started with the Roman Josi conversation. Alex Doherty at the Tennessean put out an article talking about the possibility of trading Roman Josi away. And I'm not there yet. Maybe at the trade deadline this year, there's an opportunity. Again, he has a no movement clause. If Roman Josi doesn't want to go, he's not going to go. Maybe you get to the trade deadline this year and Roman Josi says, hey, I'm getting to the end. I want to go have a chance to chase a Stanley Cup. And you send him off at the trade deadline to a contender. I can see that. I don't think I'm there quite yet. This year, I think you need the veterans. You need Josi. You need Stamkos. You need O'Reilly. I thought maybe there was a chance O'Reilly could be gone, but I think you do need Ryan O'Reilly on this team. You need Philip Forsberg to build up the young guys until they're ready. This year is less about the results. And I know people don't like to hear that, right? Like, I know people don't like to hear that this season is less about results because that's what it is about. It's about winning and losing. It's more about seeing who the next young core is going to be. I really thought Adam Vingan put it really well on DVD the other day of right now you've got guys on posters around your stadium, the guys we just talked about, Josi and Saros and Forsberg, but you don't really know who's going to be the next guys. Is it Maverick Bourque, who you just brought in? Is it the guys you've been drafting, Igor Surin or Brady Martin? I thought Adam put it perfectly that that's more what this year is about, is those young guys taking the next step and trying to really solidify the young core that you have for the next era of Predators hockey. And I think Roman Josi and those older guys are important to have for this team. I really do. I think that having the veterans, building up the roster, keeping the team competitive, and helping the young guys grow is important for the growth of the Predators as a whole.
100%. And when you mention, Roman Josi, I don't think you can go without mentioning Ryan O'Reilly, like you mentioned. Those two are I'd say cornerstone veterans to really help turn the page in this franchise's history. And as much as we all kind of have mentioned it in this throughout this last year, even though Ryan O'Reilly doesn't have a no trade clause, I feel like Barry Trotz treated it that way, like he did have one because of his importance to the roster.
Right. And I think Chris McFarland's coming in with fresh eyes. And if he thinks it's the right decision to move on from Roman Josi, he'll do it. And if there's an offer that's too good to pass up, I'm with you. Like if you get an offer that you think is going to help the long-term future of the Predators, great. I just think the return for a Roman Josi trade, he's turning 37 next year?
Yeah, he's up in the upper 30s.
So I just don't know if you'd get the return that fans would be hoping for. And we'll see. We'll see. I'm
36.
Yeah, he's 36. He turns 37 next year. I'm going to say that you would not get as much as fans might hope for Roman Josi. I think he's more valuable being in your locker room as your captain this year.
Yeah, and again, to the point that I was making before the LeBron news, like because of the whole POTS diagnosis and how he's able to kind of really understand how his body works, I think it would bode well for him to stay in Nashville with familiar teammates, a familiar system, everything that's familiar around him. I don't think it would be a bad option for him to move on, let's say early on in the season. Now, to your point about the deadline, if there is an offer out there that is too good to pass up, then sure, go ahead. That's the beauty about Chris McFarland bringing him in as the new GM and president of hockey operations, is that he understands there's no attachment to these players.
Yes. Yep. He's going to make the right decisions for the Predators long term. And I think right now, just like he didn't fire Andrew Brunette, I think he wants to see what this team looks like on the ice early in the season. You have time to make these big decisions, long-term decisions for your team. And I think it's more likely that big trades would happen closer to the deadline than before the season. 615-737-1025. Let's get to your reaction on the phone lines. We'll start with Dustin on Roman Josi. Dustin, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, guys. So I'm looking at it from a business standpoint. And Roman Josi, at his age, he's bound to start falling off soon. He's not going to be around for a big playoff run, in my opinion. We just got a new hot GM, and it is time to make moves. Now, I will say this with his, I don't know what Potts is, but if you're mentioning it, it's probably something it sounds mildly serious. Can you guys tell me what that is real quick?
I believe it's like an autoimmune deficiency, isn't it? Or like
it's a clinical examination of like your heart rate and all that.
It's hard to get over it.
It's so let me read it is a condition that causes, it's not an autoimmune deficiency. I actually didn't really know.
It was more for heart rate.
Yeah, it causes a fast heart rate, dizziness, and fatigue when you stand up.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's something that could be managed pretty well. I don't think that would turn me away from a Roman Josi, Hall of Famer defenseman who's great at offense. So I think it depends on what Roman Josi wants for me as a manager, but it's not his decision for me, other than the fact that he has a no trade clause or whatever, possibly.
Yes.
So I get what I can for him. Someone is going to want him as a defenseman, and I would not be beyond trading him to one of my arch rivals in our division. I would not care. Let him go where he wants and chase a cup, and then go try to beat him. Like, get better because you traded him, because you have another pick, maybe not this year. I don't think that we're going to be that murky middle again if we keep on doing this stuff. And Josi is a good trade piece. The one that I almost wouldn't touch is Forsberg, because like he's getting to that age too, but he's just been solid for us, a goal scoring machine, not a top goal scorer in the league, but great. And go get pieces for Josi, even if it's not what we think it'll be. Though somebody said 2 first, I think they're talking about
he's not getting 2 first.
I don't think that either. But you know what? Like, if you put it this way, in your drafts, if you can get in 1 year, if you can go somehow trade picks, 2 or 3 of your lower picks for a late first, and then get another first for Josi and a player with him, maybe, I don't know, and you get 3 number 1 picks in a year, does that not increase your chances in the lottery pick if you're one of those teams again that stink?
No, it would, but I don't think you're getting that much for Roman Josi.
You may not, but you got to build, and whatever you get, whether it's a young prospect and a late pick or something, you're getting something for him. You're building to the future, and you're letting Roman Josi possibly go play for a cup. And I think he deserves that. It's whatever he wants, really. And but nobody's safe. Like, and the more you're trying to subtract, you're trying to multiply by subtracting. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to get more picks, and you're trying to, once you drop Josi or one of these top dogs, you automatically have to replace. You're not getting better once you drop them. You're obviously rebuilding, and I think you're going to see him drop one. And once he drops one, look out.
Yeah, and appreciate the call, Dustin. I do think that is a good point, that Chris McFarland, there's no loyalty to these long-term Preds, and if there's a move that makes sense, he'll do it. But again, Roman Josi also has no movement clause. He can choose where he wants to go. John is called in. We were talking about Potts. I had not read the official definition. I've now read it. John has called in, I believe has more information on it. John, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I work with folks with disabilities, and actually my mom last year got diagnosed with this. A lot of it's kind of post-COVID stuff that's really popped up. And I mean, it's tough. It's a lot of it is extreme. Like when I say extreme fatigue. It's basically a way of life. You know, there's no curing it. It's just more or less just managing it. And so, you're looking at extreme fatigue. You're talking about dizziness. Hydration is a huge thing. Like my mom has to go get hydration treatments and stuff with water just to kind of keep it going. So it's a pretty serious thing. I mean, it's it's not very much understood, but I mean, you just imagine extreme fatigue all the time, and you just never know when it's going to get worse. So it's pretty tough stuff.
Yeah, appreciate the insight there, John, and the context, because as a professional athlete, especially, like, that's extreme fatigue, dizziness, that's not going to bode well. So with Roman Josi, there's a lot of factors. The big one is he has a no movement clause. And if he doesn't want to leave, he's not going to leave. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your reaction on the LeBron James news. We'll take your reaction on Roman Josi. We'll also get into some NFL topics coming up in hour number 3. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Final hour on this Friday. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Dr. Crane, Nick Frazier, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. You know, it's been a long week when I almost mispronounced my own name coming back from break.
Okay, Jake.
We fought through. We're here. Final hour of the week. Hope everybody's Friday has been great so far. Getting ready for the weekend. Big news this morning, LeBron James signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. We reacted to that. We'll take your thoughts as well on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. But we are gearing up for training camp. Some training camps already underway. Really tough news yesterday with Nick Skorton, the edge rusher for the Panthers. You hate it for those guys. They work all off season to get ready, and you step on the field for practice, and your season's over before it even begins. I always hate that, no matter who it is for what team. Like, it always sucks to have those guys work so hard to get ready and then have to turn around and wait a whole other year to get back on the football field.
Not only for the player, but also for the front office, because then you're really worrying about your future of, do we need to go back to the draft board? Do we need to go figure this out in free agency? Like, that's the big unfortunate thing from a business perspective.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough for the player. Of course, it's tough for the team. You've planned your approach to the season, and before you can even put on the pads, you've lost one of your key pieces. So tough there, hoping for health for everybody as training camps get going. Wanted to get to some of the biggest NFL storylines heading into training camp. Outside of Nashville here, looking around the league, the first thing that came to mind for me was there are a lot of pieces still out there that are still looking for homes. Couple of big name wide receivers that are likely past their prime, but still could be helpful to some teams. Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk is not a free agent, but there's a saga going on with him too. I do wonder if there could be some high-profile teams, some teams that believe they can compete for a Super Bowl this year, that go out and take a flyer on some of these veteran wide receivers.
For Stephon Diggs' take of it all, I don't know if I'm touching Stephon Diggs on a roster right now. As for Ayuk, got to see him do some more football, I guess, esque practices, or just get back into football shape. I mean, being away from the game that long, I would be concerned. As for anybody else that's really out there, it doesn't really come to mind. I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of them are already really taken up from this past offseason.
Like, there are a lot of big names still out there on the free agent market. Now, big names doesn't mean they're still playing like they were at their best, but I know the Tyreek Hill stuff, that kind of was tough to hear yesterday, of him not having any power in his left leg. He may be done at 32. Diggs is still out there at 32. Taylor Decker, longtime tackle for the Lions, still available. Marshawn Lattimore at corner. Trayvon Diggs at corner. We mentioned Deebo Samuel, Jack Conklin, Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa. Like, these are a lot of pretty high-profile names that are still just sitting out there on the free agent market. The Titans probably aren't going to be in talks with a lot of these guys, although I wouldn't mind adding another tackle, as I've said ad nauseum. But I do think a lot of these guys are looking for opportunities with contenders. We looked at the Chiefs wide receiver room the other day, and I think if there's a team that could use another veteran wide receiver right now, it's Kansas City. Is Stephon Diggs going to get you 1,500 yards anymore? Absolutely not. Is Deebo Samuel going to be the Swiss Army knife weapon he was early on with San Francisco? No way. But those guys can still be better than some of the names that are on the Chiefs' depth chart right now. Looking through, of course, you have Rashee Rice, and he had his issues this offseason, as now is a free man. Xavier Worthy has not been the weapon that everyone thought he would be. And beyond that, it's Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Royals, Cyrus Allen, Nico Remigio. Like, you could use a Stephon Diggs or a Deebo Samuel, no matter what condition they're in at this point in their career.
And also, with the way the Chiefs have kind of handled their window as they try to keep it open, why not take a flyer on Gabe Davis? Just take a flyer on him. Obviously, he's recovering from a torn ACL, but he's a free agent. I feel like that's an opportunity for a guy like that to say, hey, go and play for a championship-winning team. Was with the Buffalo Bills. Couldn't beat him there. Might as well go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, let's see. What has Gabe Davis done since he got that big contract in Jacksonville? Because, man, was it the 13 seconds game with the Chiefs and Bills where he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns and looked like he was going to be a star. His last year in Buffalo, he had, I guess he's never had a 1,000-yard season, but he had in 2022, 836 yards and 7 touchdowns. The year after that, 746 yards and 7 touchdowns. He had at least 6 touchdowns in his first 4 years in the league. Jacksonville, he signs the deal, plays in only 10 games, has 239 yards. Then he goes back to Buffalo last year and had 129 yards. So that'd be a reclamation project with him. But there are decent names out there on the free agent market. That's one of the big storylines that I'm wondering. When do these guys start to sign on? Are there some contenders out there that still feel like they're missing a piece, a depth piece? Again, Stephon Diggs not going to be a star. Debo Samuel not going to be a star. Joey Bosa not going to get you 10 sacks. But I do think that those are guys who can still help teams and be the last guy in who can be the missing piece for a team that can make a run.
I mean, you saw Stephon Diggs when he played with the Patriots. It was a lot of those in and out routes. Like you go probably 5 yards and running out. Like that was the very short, crisp routes that could get you that chunk yard you needed just to get close to the sticks for a run play with Ramondre Stevenson or even Henderson as well.
Yeah, Travion Henderson too. Yeah, there's going to be some movement over the next few weeks as we get into training camp. Some of these veterans may not want to go through the entire process of July and into August of training camp, but they'll start signing with teams shortly. Speaking of the Chiefs, injured players coming back, the one name that comes to mind for me, I know there's a few, Daniel Jones recovering from his Achilles tear, but Patrick Mahomes, knee injury in December. What if he isn't 100% ready for week 1? I think he's going to play in week 1, but I don't know if he's going to be 100% there. We've seen it from quarterbacks before that there is a little bit of you got to get back to trusting your knee. That's in all sports with the ACL. You got to get back to trusting that it's going to hold up. The Chiefs are coming off a disappointing season, obviously. Back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They missed the playoffs with only 6 wins. Can they bounce back if you don't have your star quarterback at 100% from the get-go?
Yeah, 100%. You have a Super Bowl winning running back in your backfield, and that is the one and only Kenneth Walker. And having Kenneth Walker, it's kind of the Vandy conversation we had about last hour with Cedric Alexander. The plays that he makes that go just unheard of or they go underappreciated. Same thing for Kenneth Walker. Sure, he had a few injury issues in Seattle the last couple seasons, but when it comes to those injury history with Kansas City, I think you can throw that out the window because he's being looked at and relied on as the bell cow running back. The Chiefs are no longer relying on Isaiah Pacheco anymore. They're not relying on Kareem Hunt. They're not relying on those extra, 6th, 7th round, 5th round picks. They're going after a premium back that they know can get them over the hump. While Mahomes is trying to, get back to his feet.
That's a good point that they can rely on the run game as Mahomes settles back in. Kenneth Walker's a really good player. He is better than Isaiah Pacheco has been over the past few years. But, man, this roster just is uninspiring. The offensive line is solid. You still got Creed Humphrey. You've still got Trey Smith. They've probably got one of the best guard interior triangles in the league. The tackles, Josh Simmons at left tackle. He's a young guy, I want to say. First round pick 2 years ago out of Ohio State. Jalen Moore is their right tackle. Kind of a journeyman guy.
Drafted from San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken.
San Francisco drafted him back in 2021 in the 5th round. And then on the defensive side, still have players. Nick Bolton, one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league still. You draft Mansour Delane in the top 10. You get superstar L'Jarius Sneed back in free agency. You've still got Chris Jones. Just wanted to throw the Sneed name in there too. This roster, I think, is pretty uninspiring from top to bottom. And if Patrick Mahomes isn't Patrick Mahomes this year, I do wonder if the Chiefs might there's a chance the Chiefs might miss the playoffs in back-to-back seasons, which I don't think anyone would have projected at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I just don't see them missing it again. There's no way. I mean, with the resources that you have, obviously I get it's Travis Kelce's last year, whatever, but obviously you look at that and say maybe he should produce a little bit more. You have Xavier Worthy, like you mentioned, a little bit of a lackluster performance. But again, you have Rashee Rice. Hopefully when all that stuff is said and done, he comes back as a productive wide receiver. There's a lot of stuff basically hinging on certain situations to play out.
I do just think the AFC is deep this year. There's a lot of good teams. Bills and Patriots, I think, are both going to be really good again this year. Patriots, I think, take a slight step back. The schedule's not going to be as much of a cakewalk as it was last year. The AFC North, don't think the Browns are going to be very good. I think the Steelers will be okay, as they always are. But I think the Bengals take a big step forward if Joe Burrow stays healthy. I think Baltimore is going to be good again. I want to say they might be the favorite to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC right now. AFC South, Texans have a great defense. The Jaguars won 13 games last year. And the Chiefs' own division is pretty brutal. The Raiders are still a project. I don't think they're going to be great, and we'll talk about them coming up next. But the Broncos were an injury away from probably playing for the Super Bowl last year, and I think the Chargers will be better if they stay healthy too. So you look through there, I just mentioned 8 teams that I think are legitimate playoff contenders, and that doesn't include the Chiefs. That Patrick Mahomes is going to have to be MVP level Patrick Mahomes, I think, if the Chiefs want to get into the playoffs and make another deep run in the playoffs.
Yeah, if you go back and look at that Chiefs team of 2023 when they went to the Super Bowl, that was, I guess, peak Isaiah Pacheco having 930 plus yards rushing. They're, I think, hoping to have that out of Kenneth Walker. And again, I'm going back to the run game conversation because I think that is the only way they get into the playoffs.
I do think it's important.
Yeah.
Like that, having a serious run game behind Patrick Mahomes, especially with not really any legitimate weapons around him besides Rashee Rice. So,
and it goes back to the offensive line, like we were talking about, the journeyman on the right tackle. Like you have to be able to get that initial push. Sure, you have Humphreys as your center.
Smith at left guard.
Yeah, you have all your returners for the most part from the left side to the center, but you have to make sure that this offensive line can gel properly, because if they don't, then you're kind of up a creek.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. We're going through the biggest storylines heading into NFL training camps. A lot of veteran players still out there. Patrick Mahomes coming back from the torn ACL. Will he be the same guy as we start off the 2026 season? Next up, want to get over to Vegas. How long is Fernando Mendoza going to sit? I know that's been a big debate around here, is to sit or not to sit, because Cam Ward obviously didn't last year and struggled early on. Seems like the plan is for Kirk Cousins to start in Vegas. How long should the number 1 pick sit on the bench this year? Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you on your Friday morning. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier. Little Avril this morning. Avril's got some bangers.
I mean, mid 2000s, it's Avril Lavigne.
I mean, she's great. Have you seen the conspiracy theory about her?
Wait, what?
You've never seen this?
No.
There's like a huge conspiracy theory that she died and has been replaced with a lookalike.
What? Oh man. Yeah, I'm a big conspiracy guy, so I'll have to look this up now.
Yeah, it's I remember seeing this. I think it was in like, it's been going on for a while. So there's an Avril Lavigne replacement conspiracy theory that originated in 2011 that she died in 2003 and was replaced by a body double.
I mean, there's no way a body double can sound like that, right?
I mean, yeah, maybe they're using AI back in 2003.
You're right. Maybe they were planted. I don't know. I'll have to look more into
See,
this.
You said earlier this week you don't think we landed on the moon, so we'll have to see if you believe that that Avril Lavigne has been replaced for the past 25 years.
That is fair. That is fair. I mean, I don't know. To the whole landing on the moon thing, that's a whole different conversation. Maybe not. I don't know. We probably did. We did. Yeah. Come on.
I thought that was a great question from Joe on Question of the Day. Was that what, Tuesday?
Yeah.
Something like that?
All the conspiracy theorists out there were hitting the text line like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, it is funny when you bring up conspiracy theories. A conspiracy theory by nature is polarizing. Like, people either full on believe it or think it's the stupidest thing ever. Most of the time I land on it's the stupidest thing ever, but it's fun to talk about some of these things.
It really is. I didn't know that about Avril though.
Yeah, we'll have to go through it and see. I have read the whole thing of like why, and like there are some things that kind of make sense with it, but it's so far-fetched that I can't believe it. Sean says it's wild how much her lookalike is a copy of her. Dustin Hopkins says, what's the why? Why and who benefits from replacing Avril? Yeah, it's true. Like what would be the advantage of doing that? I guess you get more fake music from her. I don't know.
Financial compensation towards her estate, if that's the case, but she's still alive.
Real Avril, fake Avril, music's still good. Anyway, back to the NFL. Training camps opening up across the league this week. Man, Sean actually really believes this. He's texting and saying they had a working relationship together. Anyway, back into the NFL. Big story heading into training camps. Vegas. Fernando Mendoza, the number one pick out of Indiana. You've got Kirk Cousins in there. And it's a big conversation. Do you sit the young quarterback and let him grow underneath a veteran, or do you let him go learn on the job? And there might be some bumps in the road, but you hope getting the reps and actually playing football is going to help them get better. I think there's an argument for both of them. You've seen success stories for both of them. With Fernando Mendoza, I think it makes sense to sit him. I think it does. You've got Kirk Cousins there. And that's the big thing, is who is the veteran guy that he's sitting behind? Is there an advantage to sitting there and having him watch the quarterback you're going to start over him? And with Kirk Cousins, I think the answer is yes. Good guy. He's a good leader. He has been in the league for a long time, and he's proven to be a capable quarterback. I think you can learn a lot from watching Kirk Cousins work. Now, we go back a year ago with Cam Ward. You can argue they should have gotten a better quarterback in free agency, but by the time they drafted Cam Ward, it was Brandon Allen, and that was it. You were not going to sit there and have Cam Ward sit behind Brandon Allen. He's not going to learn much. And we saw Brandon Allen later on in the year. Like, yeah, sure, there's a lot to be learned by just going through practice and meetings. But I think Cam Ward, based on the situation you were in with Brandon Allen as the only other feasible quarterback on the roster, I think it made more sense for him to go out and play. But when you have a guy like Kirk Cousins, I think it makes sense for Fernando to sit for a little bit, and then by mid-October, beginning of November, you put him in there and see what he can do.
Yeah, right now, the Raiders have such a great situation for for the passing of the torch, because there's nobody else better than Kirk Cousins. That's a serviceable quarterback that's been through the ringer, that's been to the highest of highs in the NFC and the lowest of lows with Atlanta. This is the perfect situation for him, because you look at the Raiders, they're kind of in the murky middle of that highest of highs and lowest of lows. They're right in the middle because they have their cornerstone young pieces in Bowers, Genty,
yep.
and now Mendoza. And you go and grab Linderbaum from the Ravens. So you now have your center of the future that your young quarterback can develop behind, along with Kirk Cousins as well.
I think Mendoza is going to play, I would say, a majority of the season, at least 9 games this year. But given that you have Kirk Cousins in that room, I think it does make sense to have him sit the bench. I think it just depends on the quarterback you have and the quarterback you're drafting too. Like for Cam Ward last year, sure, maybe he could have benefited from sitting if you brought in a more experienced quarterback. I wanted Jameis Winston here. Maybe not because he would have been good to start, but just because he would have been entertaining. But also, former number 1 pick, knows what the expectations are for a guy like that coming into the league. I think it would have made sense. And it might have made sense to have famous Jameis start for a couple of weeks. But with Cam Ward, he also played so much in college. He played like 50 games of college football. I think it made sense for Mendoza. I'm going to say, yeah, he probably should sit.
I think for the benefit, when you get to the Cam Ward conversation of it all, now you have a true baseline that this guy can go a full season. I mean, minus that injury he had in Jacksonville the last game of the season.
Yep.
But it goes to show you that guy can go a full season without getting hurt too bad, to the point where the durability of his body is good enough. As for Mendoza, you won't get the taste of that until, let's say, week 5, week 6, depending on where they are record-wise. I think if they're in a losing record, I guess, viewpoint, then maybe you put them in for the last half of a game, and then maybe you start them the following game, something like that.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. And you never know. Like if Kirk Cousins gets hurt, maybe he goes in a little bit earlier than you expected. But I would guess by the end of October, you're going to see Fernando Mendoza suiting up to make his first start. Last thing before we wrap up on the NFL, I've got one pre-training camp dark horse team. And it's crazy to say that this team is not being talked about enough. I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to be pretty good this year. I do. I was looking through that roster and the depth chart the other day, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball on this team. Not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think you can pick that. They haven't been to the NFC Championship since, 93? But I'm looking at this Cowboys team. If they stay healthy, I think they can win that division, and they could maybe get to the NFC Championship for the first time in 30 years.
I mean, you do make a good point. I mean, those trades last year, you got Quinnen Williams, and now look on the offensive side of the ball. You go inside and Javonte Williams, you keep him around, and I mean, you got Malik Davis as your backup running back in that case.
They got a solid offensive line.
Yeah,
they've got Quinnen Williams up front. They've got Kenny Clark up front. They just signed Rashawn Gary. They've got Deron Bland in the back end. They just drafted Caleb Downs. Again, I'm not putting them as a Super Bowl favorite, but I think somehow, some way, the Cowboys are not getting enough buzz heading into this season.
Yeah, Donovan Ezeraku, let's not forget about him.
Yeah, he was an option for the Titans in the second round last year. I want to say he went off the board just before Femi.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. There are some pieces on the defensive side of the ball where they could be sneaky, but on the offensive side, I think that's where my heart kind of lies, is that Jake Ferguson, Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, probably the best 1-2 punch with the wide receiver room. And the fact that they have a stable running back room in Javonte Williams, you can rely on it. The issue is Dak Prescott. That's the only issue for me. As a Mississippi State fan saying that, that's crazy.
Which is funny because I like Dak Prescott.
So do I.
I think he's a really good quarterback. He hasn't done it in the playoffs, which we have the same conversation about Herbert. And as I've been reminded, Sam Darnold heading into last year, that was the conversation. I just look at that Dallas roster. I think it's one of the better teams they've had in a while with the additions they've made on the defensive line. And it's all about staying healthy. If Dak doesn't stay healthy, they're going to struggle, which has been a problem throughout his career. But I'm just saying, if I had to pick a dark horse team, I like the Dallas Cowboys.
And Jerry's not getting any younger. Jerry wants to win himself a Super Bowl. You know, yesterday, Adam and I were discussing like ringtones on the phone. And I've done this before. We can do like a ringtone of like a certain person's contact. So if they text you, it'd have like a really odd ringtone.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott's cadence, Here we go. I feel like that'd be a great
That's-
text
yeah.
line. That'd be great.
He's got one of the better cadences in the league. Here we go. Say hut.
And then you have all the other ones that are just clapping.
Green 19.
Jackson Dart,
Yeah, he's just a clap.
just a clap.
Kyler Murray loved the clap. I remember that when he came out. Like, it was a big deal. He kept getting called for a false start because his clapping. Mike is texting in. He doesn't believe that we landed on the moon. He says, if you believe that we landed on the moon, I also have oceanfront property in Arizona to sell you. He says, if you believe the Cowboys can go to the playoffs, can you believe we landed on the moon? A list of the quarterbacks who are mediocre at best. You know, the ones that can almost get you there, maybe get you there, but can't win big. No, it's true. Dak has been on that list with Herbert and Baker Mayfield. There's a lot of guys who are close, but not quite there. I just think they've surrounded Dak with enough talent this year that I would pick them to win the NFC East.
Okay.
Right now. I think the Eagles take a slight step back. I think the Commanders are better this year, but they're not quite back to where they were 2 years ago. And I don't think the Giants are going to take as big of a step forward as some people might think. Give me the Cowboys to win the NFC East. There you go.
What it sounds like in the NFC East, it goes Dallas, Philly, Washington, New York. For you, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Philly and Washington is splitting hairs for me.
Okay.
But I will go Eagles over Commanders. I will go Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, Giants in the NFC East. That's my right now prediction. We're going to do before the season at some point. Like, I'll actually go through game by game and pick the whole NFL schedule, and we'll see where it ends up. But just going off of the teams as they are, I think the Cowboys win the NFC East.
Okay. I like this. My dad's Cowboys fan. I love this. He's probably jumping for joy.
Yeah, there we go. Chase McCabe, if he's still listening.
That's right.
There you go.
He's definitely
the
listening.
Cowboys going to the playoffs. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Coming up next, we will make some predictions for not the weekend. We're going to change up the Monday headlines this week because of SEC Media Days. We'll make some predictions of what's going to happen in the SEC in 2026. Some bold predictions. We'll do it next. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up. 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier with you. Going to make some SEC bold predictions here. SEC Media Days in the books. Season is just over a month away. Before we get into that, though, some news out of Foxborough that's just mildly interesting. Mike Vrabel speaking to the media. This is from Doug Kidd, who is a beat reporter for the Boston Herald. DeAndre Hopkins is joining the Patriots in a potential coaching role. I did not know that he was retiring from playing. Maybe he's not completely yet, but DeAndre Hopkins is joining the Patriots coaching staff as a potential coaching role. So I guess he's kind of like an intern with the Patriots. So interesting news there out of Foxborough. DeAndre Hopkins joining the Patriots coaching staff. But let's make some 2026 SEC predictions here and go through what we think might happen. I will start us off here. We talked about Ole Miss, and they've got the two guys in the backfield who I think can be superstars. Trinidad Chambliss, Kwan Lacey. I'm going to say Ole Miss gets its first Heisman Trophy winner this year. Not going to say which one I think it's going to be. I'm going to take both of them, but I say that the Ole Miss Rebels get their first Heisman Trophy winner this year. Either Trinidad Chambliss or Kwan Lacey, one of them lifts it up at the end of the year.
Ooh, I never thought that you would be that high on a Ole Miss
that
players.
backfield is just fun to watch. And I think there's a lot of candidates for the Heisman this year, but I'm going to double up. Ole Miss has never won one. I'm going to say that they get one this year with one of those two players.
Okay. I like that.
Do you have a bold prediction for the SEC season?
I do. This is going to be kind of crazy, but I'm going with Jeff Levy, keeps his job, goes bowling, not just with 6 wins, but with 8.
Okay. Wow. An 8-win Mississippi State. Maybe some wishful thinking here. Let me count off the wins that I think they can get. UL Monroe, for sure. They could beat Minnesota on the road, although PJ Fleck's going to be rowing that boat. At South Carolina is going to be tough. Missouri at home, that's winnable. The next stretch is really tough with Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas. Vandy at home, it's possible. Auburn at home, possible. Tennessee Tech, that's 6. So you would have to have them beating 2 of South Carolina, Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, and Ole Miss. That's not easy, but not impossible.
This is where I have them winning their games. The first 4 games are wins. I know that's very optimistic.
Okay, you got them beating South Carolina on the road.
Bold predictions out here, right?
Yep.
And then the last 4 games, I have them taking it. Oh, so there you
go.
So
they're going to go 4-game winning streak, 4-game losing streak, 4-game winning streak to end the season. I like it.
The middle part of that schedule,
it's brutal.
It's bad. Even Jeff Levy was asked about it at SEC Media Days. He goes, "That's the thing about being a coach. You can't compartmentalize the schedule like that." But yes, I've been asked about that.
Yeah,
times.
October is just a gauntlet. Alabama at home, at LSU, Oklahoma at home, at Texas. Those are 4 possible playoff teams. You're facing, I think, the 2 most talented rosters on the road at LSU, at Texas. So that's a bold prediction from Nick. I like it. All right, my second one. Alabama misses the playoffs. Kalen DeBoer gets fired.
Jake Lyman off the top rope.
I think the expectations are too high. I think Alabama fans are looking for any excuse to run him out of town. I'm going to say they lose 4 games this year. They're going to lose to Georgia. Man, I might have them losing 4 in a row here. Actually, here's what we'll go with. Bold prediction. Kalen DeBoer starts the season 5-0, then loses 4 straight games to Georgia, Tennessee, A&M, and LSU. There's an interim coach coming to Nashville when they play Vanderbilt in November.
Is that interim coach by the name of Nick Saban by chance?
How crazy would that be? I'm going to say no, but that's going to be, I'm going even bolder with it. 4-game losing streak for Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer does not make it back to First Bank Stadium to face Vanderbilt on November 14th.
Wow. That is quite bold. I've always wondered about Alabama if they would go the Bob Stoops route of like interim head coach, be the bowl game head coach for a game. Like with Nick Saban, I feel like that'd be the situation for Bama, right?
Let me see what their coaching staff looks like.
Because he's still an ambassador to that program. He has his own little office in Bryant-Denny Stadium, Nick Saban Field now. So there might be something there.
So the coordinators are Ryan Grubb and Kane Womack. They both were with him in Washington. I would say it's probably not going to be one of those guys. I don't see another name that I recognize as like, oh, former head coach who's on staff. Maybe it could be. Maybe it. How bold would that be? Nick Saban is coaching the Alabama Crimson Tide when they come to Nashville. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say Alabama loses 4 straight games and he gets fired before he comes to Vanderbilt.
Man, if that happens, Jake, go play the lottery. Go play the lottery.
This is why I love this segment, because again, it's not trying. Yes, you are trying to predict stuff, but it's just kind of going for big scenarios and maybe something sticks. All right, give us one more, Dr. Crane.
All right, I'm going to go with, man, you mentioned they're a sleeping giant earlier, Florida. I'm going to go with Florida here. I think they go 10-2. And they make the playoff in year 1 for John Summerall.
I like it. I saw Parker Kelly, who will be back on Monday. He put out a video from his podcast saying that he thinks Florida is a sleeper this year. Let's look at the schedule for Florida. There are tough stretches, but honestly, you're not far off base, right? Like they get Ole Miss, Georgia, and Oklahoma all at home. They beat Texas last year, who they play on the road this season. I don't hate it. I think again, not likely, but definitely not impossible.
Yeah, the games I kind of circle here that should be wins for them would be Missouri and South Carolina. Obviously, it's tough to play at South Carolina, but it's at Florida. So they have the opportunity to do something there. As for Oklahoma, it's at home in the swamp. That's beneficial to them.
Yep.
It's just a pretty decent schedule from my perspective.
I like it. All right, so our bold 2026 SEC predictions. I've got an Ole Miss player winning the Heisman Trophy. I'm not going to specify whether it's Lacey or Chambliss, but an Ole Miss player wins their first Heisman Trophy. I've also got Alabama going on a 4-game losing streak and Kalen DeBoer getting fired before season's end. Dr. Crane going with Florida to go 10-2 and make the playoffs, and Mississippi State to win 8 games. Jeff Lebby takes a big step forward. Dustin from Hopkinsville has sent in his bold 2026 predictions. He says UK wins at least 7 games and beats Tennessee in a grinder by a last-minute field goal. He also says Clark Lee announces his run for president because he's just great at everything, and Vandy wins 8 games, beating Tennessee again. I think you can get where this is going. Josh Heupel gets chased out of town for winning 6 games. If you gave me the 3-way of who's going to have the least wins in 2026 between Kentucky, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt, I don't think I'd take Tennessee. But I think I'd take Kentucky. But
it's because of me.
I like it. Yeah. I like it from Dustin. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We've got one more segment left with you on this Friday. We will wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Nick Frazier, next man up. 1025 The Game. Next man up, 102.5, The Game, final segment on your Friday morning. Chasing Big Joe coming up right after us. Dr. Crane, it feels like we've made it. I think this is the last week of the dead period of summer. Next week, we get training camp towards the end. Big Ten Media Days next week to kind of wrap up the talking season in college football. It's time to go. It's time to go. And I'm fired up about it. I woke up feeling re-energized this morning because I'm like, man, this feels like the last show where you're talking about off-season stuff. Next week, we get into preseason stuff, which is great.
Jake Lyman woke up feeling dangerous, folks. He woke up feeling dangerous.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, woke up feeling dangerous for the show today. Big Ten Media Days next week. I don't really have as much interest in that. Again, just the area of the country we're in, of course, that's a big thing. But with the Big Ten, I feel like there's less characters that I want to see. I mean, you're going to hear Tony Petitti talk about all of the stuff that Greg Sankey had to talk about this week with conference expansion, the Protect College Sports Act not going to a vote this summer, which obviously was a big storyline yesterday. So that's all going to be talked about. You're going to hear from Ryan Day and Dan Lanning and Kurt Signetti. I guess you'll get some new coaches in there like Matt Campbell's at Penn State, but the Big Ten Media Days, I'm not quite as excited about, but it will be nice to wrap up talking season next week with the Big Ten. So next week should be good. Training camp, the veterans report on Tuesday for the Titans, and practices get going shortly after that. So it's here. We have made it to the end of the offseason. Big news this morning as well. LeBron James has signed a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Long wait. Seemed like he might be going back to Cleveland, maybe Miami. Golden State was in it, but it is the Sixers. And we do have someone on the phone lines who wants to chime in on that. Michael has called in. Michael, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
My question, LeBron James coming back to sign with another team on a super friendly contract, as much as like it seems like he's ring chasing and all that is fine, but what does this do to his to his reputation, to his aura, to whatever he already has established if he does go and signs this? He basically signed a minimum contract to jump on and win a championship. Again, I don't think Philadelphia screams number one team in the league. If he would have jumped and signed with the Spurs or signed with the Thunder or something like that, I think it would have tarnished his reputation. But do you guys think if Philadelphia wins a championship this year with LeBron and then he retires, that does anything to his reputation?
It's a good question. We've gotten to the age-old question of what does this mean for LeBron's legacy? And I agree with Michael that I think people would kind of have rolled their eyes if he did go to the Thunder or the Spurs. It's like, oh, okay, now you're doing this. You're going to go be the fourth option on a loaded team and just coast your way to a possible championship. But with the Sixers, I think it's a spot where no one's going to look down on him for going to Philadelphia, a franchise that really has never been able to get over the hump. I think this makes me think the rumors that he wanted to go to the Knicks were true before they won the title, because he could have been the one to finally bring a title back to New York. And the Sixers, I think that's kind of his challenge here, is he wants to be the savior. Even though he may not be the best player on that team anymore, I think if they do go win a championship, I think it does help his legacy. Man, it's the age-old question. What does this mean for LeBron's legacy?
It's interesting because there was it might have been on your show, one of the headlines way back in the day, earlier on this summer. I mentioned that LeBron at some point, this is like 2 years on the line, now that it is a 2-year deal, looking at Philadelphia's, I guess, draft board, they have a top 8 protected first-round pick. His son, not Bronny, but the other
Bryce,
one, Bryce plays at Arizona. Maybe there's an opportunity there. They go draft his son, and he plays with that son too. I think the only thing we're waiting for in the LeBron storyline is for him to retire like Jordan, come out of retirement and do something. But
he said he thought he was done after this season. I'm not sure how much I believe that, but he says that he thought he was done at the end of the year and still wants to chase a championship. So he is going to Philadelphia coming up this year. 2-year deal with the player option. So it's really a 1-year deal. And if he feels like coming back, he can. I think this makes the Sixers towards the top of the East. Does it make them the odds-on favorite in the East? I don't know. I think they're right up there with I think the Celtics are probably slightly worse with losing Jaylen Brown. I think the Heat will be better with Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Knicks will be good again. The Pistons should be good again. But they're in the thick of things there. And I think it's just who's going to get hot, who's going to be healthy at the right time in the playoffs. Chad says the starting five of James, Maxey, VJ, Embiid, and JB is stacked. I think they're immediately a serious contender. Yeah, I mean, I think they are right up there among those top 5 teams in the East. And the East is definitely easier because I think you're kind of splitting hairs when you look at those teams versus the West, where there are more superpowers that you'd have to slay some dragons in the West playoffs, which would not be super easy.
No, not at all. And I think you mentioned with Jaylen Brown, does Philadelphia get better? I would say, yeah, earlier on when you mentioned this, I would say yes, because of Boston, the way they handled the Jason Tatum injury. It was all Jaylen Brown all day, every day. And he proved himself that he could be one of those top end guards on another team like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So there was proving grounds for him in Boston. Also, Boston's losing Al Horford to Golden State. So that's a big issue as well. Boston's kind of just disintegrating just beneath us right now.
That's what I'm saying is I don't know if they got better. They got Mitchell Robinson in the offseason. They got Paul George back in that trade with Jaylen Brown, but I don't know if I would put them as the favorite in the East. Again, I think it's really close when you look at the top of the Eastern Conference, especially with LeBron going over to Philly. Before we wrap up, Nick, I did have to bring this up. I've told you I've been playing some darts lately.
Yeah.
My Vandy colleagues got me into playing on Wednesday nights, and I saw a video this week from Luke Littler, your guy, doing a 9-dart. And as somebody who hadn't really played darts except for like in a college bar before, I don't think I really realized how difficult it is. And then I watched the clip of him doing it, and I was like, that is one of the most impressive things that I've ever seen.
Thank you. Everyone's starting to come around on the darts. Thank you very much. Look, he didn't just have a 9-dart finish, Jake. It was the 9-dart finish nobody expected. Going double 15 for the out. Not the double 19.
Yeah.
Not the double 20. He went double 15. He went the opposite route.
Yeah, so he went, it was triple 20 7 times in a row.
Correct.
Then it was triple 17, double 15.
He is a different breed.
It is so funny just what, like, playing darts for a few hours a night during the summer on Wednesdays, like once a week, has gotten me into it. And I'm just like, I saw that video pop up and I was like, oh, I should watch this. So impressive. And it's crazy how the crowds are at those events.
Look, I've been telling you all for the last 2 years on Weekend Huddle, along with your show during the week, I love the crowd atmosphere. That's what got me into it.
Yeah.
They all dress up like it's Halloween.
Right.
Every single tournament.
I mean, I never thought I would be a darts enthusiast, but here we are. Nick Frazier has finally got his way. He's got somebody else to talk darts with here at the station.
Just wait till Manly Sea Eagles come around.
Right, my team. Yeah, I forgot about that. The rugby league, the Manly Sea Eagles. That'll just about wrap things up for us today. Been a fun show, and we can't wait for next week. We got the Titans coming back, training camp, excited for practices to get going. SEC Media Days in the books. Parker Kelly will be back with us on Monday so we can react to everything that went down out there in Tampa. We'll talk to you Monday at 9 a.m. Chasing Big Joe coming up next right here on 102.5 The Game.